9 p.m. slot as Manhattan College takes on Fairfield University. I'm Castor Sepulins here again with Soy Soares, and we're going to have a pretty interesting series in store tonight, aren't we?
This will be an interesting one to say the least. Fairfield and Manhattan, both teams looking to rebound off of losses last week, so I really don't know what to expect. Should be good.
Yeah, it should be good indeed. I also don't know what to expect, so we don't have a lot to talk about. But moving forward, I think both of these teams have a lot of promise. Like you mentioned already, they come back after a loss, and we're already going to jump right in. We have Trobs versus Sam, and it's going to be a pretty aggressive start for Trobs, who's already picked up 56% onto this Captain Falcon, which really does lose this initial engagement against the Nest.
Yeah, Nest does a really good job of holding center stage with all his projectiles, and Falcon, in this matchup, his issue is going to be finding a way in on this Nest. Once he gets in, he can really rack up the percent, but the issue is working his way through all of these Nest projectiles.
Yeah, absolutely. Since Melee, Nest has kind of had a stranglehold on the matchup against Captain Falcon, and that's showing. We're currently looking at a 0% Nest. As I say it, I cast a curse that to life, but Captain Falcon already at 140%. We're going to have to see an incredibly nasty combo if he's any hope of not losing this stock, and Sam is really looking to bring that combo to life, but just barely Trobs is able to make it back to the map, and it's just really anybody's game at the moment right now. Sam at a massive deficit. Oh, that things that.
Good job there getting that back air, catching Captain Falcon, getting overextending, getting a little aggressive in neutral, but that's kind of the mentality of a Falcon. Falcon is a rush down, in-your-face type of character, and I really think the thing for Sam is he's got to push his advantage against Ness. If Ness is going to control center stage like that, he has to be able to capitalize when he gets his opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. You really need to capitalize on a Nest. Whether it's a little slip up or just simply a read, you've got to be on top of this Nest, or he is going to take this series away from you. And while they both have 2 stocks, we see Sam has taken a lot more damage for the time being, so Nest is in a much better position moving forward.
Sam also has done a very good job of catching Ness in the air. Ness has a lot of powerful aerials, but Falcon can kind of match pace with them when they're both not on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Falcon can definitely maybe keep up with the pace a little bit more off stage versus Ness, who kind of, like you said, has that mid-stage advantage, can get a little bit more aggressive and afford to do so. Currently can afford to get a lot more aggressive, but instead, SD's off the map.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He wanted to air dodge back to ledge there, I'm pretty sure, but the game said no, I guess. But for Sam, that's a we take those.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam definitely, we take those vote. Now actually in the lead due to that very unfortunate SD. So that's not something you'd love to see as Trobs, but Sam got to be pretty stoked that may have just given him the series.
Yeah, and you can start to feel the momentum swing now as Sam backs up a little bit of percent, and that combo is almost true, almost got the knee. If he gets the strong hitbox of that, Ness might have been dead.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, Sam looking to wrap up this series maybe a little bit earlier than we expected, and yes! The up attack is going to be able to do it, and that's all that it's going to take it. Trobs had a phenomenal stranglehold on that match at the beginning, but that SD off the map just spelled disaster for our Ness.
That up smash was so good, but you're right. The turning point of that match was absolutely the SD. You could feel the momentum shift, and Falcon players kind of thrive off that momentum, right? Their characters very much, the mentality of in your face and, keep pushing your advantage. And Sam right there, that up smash was so good. I want to talk about up smashes with multiple hitboxes like that can kind of get tripped up by platforms, but it was such a good read by Sam to turn that around and catch Ness's landing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sam had a couple of options there, like you mentioned, but the up smash was that difference maker. It was a risky call, but a good one. Could have gone for the Falcon kick, could have gone for the Falcon punch, could have done a lot of things. The up B, a lot of things could have come out there, but that was probably the best possible move. And as we saw, it worked out really nicely for Sam, who is now kind of up 1-0 over Trobs in this 1v1.
And Falcon has a lot of moves that are they have a lot of knockback to them. It's like you have your set of moves that are meant to kill and your set of moves that are meant to combo. And up smash is definitely on the kill side, but it's just so much harder to land because of that multi-hit. It's so easy to fall out.
Yeah, absolutely. The multi-hit can really screw up a combo. Yeah, I couldn't have said that better. It's something that we've seen happen before, and I'm sure we'll see it happen again with a lot of Captain Falcon players. Now, the question is, do we think Trobs is going to swap? I personally say no, because I think he would have won that had he not SD'd off the map. So it really comes down to, do we think he's still comfortable on that Nest? Maybe his mental's a little bit shaken up. So Sam right now in a pretty good position, but Soy Source, what do you think Trobs is going to do moving forward here?
I think he's going to ride out the Ness. It was, like we said, it was pretty close until that SD, and you could feel the momentum get away from him. I think in terms of this matchup, we talked about how combo characters like platforms, and Falcon is absolutely a combo character. So I'm looking for Ness to avoid any triplats here, go to something maybe like a Smashville or Town and City. No, Town and City is still a triplat, but it's got the awkward platforms that, opposite of Battlefield, basically. Maybe Kalos might be the pick for him, because Kalos's blast zones towards the sides of the stage where Ness has a lot of kill power are actually pretty close.
I was thinking that exact same thing. I was thinking Kalos was most likely going to be our choice of map because, like you said, same reason I had in mind is those blast zones are a little bit closer than normal. And Ness, we know that his back throw is lethal, and with those opportunities being a little bit closer, that could be the difference maker. As we saw, Trobs took Sam to the edge of death every time, but was just not able to confirm those kills. So maybe with blast zones just a little bit closer, he'd be a little more successful.
Yeah, and for Manhattan, this is big because Sam has been one of their top performers in terms of points that they average per week. Sam has been one of the more consistent players on their roster. So to throw him out first and to have him take the first game over Trobs is big.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam definitely coming out as a powerhouse here, and that SD from Trobs definitely helped. We are going to see that mirror matchup, something we saw literal moments ago, that Ness v Captain Falcon, and it looks like they're going to stick to it. FD going to be the map of choice, and I don't know, it's really going to come down to, can Trobs hit the aggressive combos we saw earlier, but now Sam a little more familiar playing against this Ness, maybe a little more understanding of the combos that Trobs are going to kind of go for, so Sam going to play a little bit more reactively than we saw last time.
Yeah, I think this type of stage makes it so that it's very volatile both ways. The pendulum swings way farther, puts you in far more disadvantage or far more advantageous positions with no platforms at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Trobs, it's going to struggle here as he has a lot less options. And I think a tri-platform would have helped both of these heroes, or maybe not helped either of them how we ended up here on Final Destination. But Trobs right now really looking to take this early stock on Sam, but he's really not that far behind on percentage.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Again, once Falcon's in the air, he does not have an easy way down, and that's going to be an easy back throw for Ness.
Absolutely, and like I mentioned earlier, Ness's back throw, probably arguably his most lethal move, one that does a lot of damage early on, and Trobs in a much better position all of a sudden. Definitely a kill percentage against the Captain Falcon, but Sam gonna get a little more nervous here.
Yeah, and the issue is for Falcon, his approach is fairly linear. If he's gonna weave his way around a projectile, he's really got that, he has to jump and then do something else out of it, and Ness can read it pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like Trobs is going to be a little bit ahead again. We see almost an entire stock difference between these two fighters right now. So as long as another SD doesn't show up, this could be Trobs' series to take. And that back throw once again almost takes Sam off the map, but it's just not strong enough this time. Sam now in a very difficult position, being ledge guarded by a Ness is a dangerous place to be. But the throw from Captain Falcon almost takes out the Ness here, but again, going to return just barely, misses that down smash. But no, it's going to be the back air from Trobs that takes out Sam's second stock.
The Trobs is doing a really good job of just holding center stage, making this matchup as difficult as possible for Captain Falcon. And at low percents now, Ness can land some of these combos and really extend the lead.
Yeah, absolutely, and the lead is a large one. Trobs, if they can 3-stock in this, will actually end up getting his team more points. We saw from that 1-to-1 stock taken by Sam last engagement. This could put Fairfield in the lead pretty aggressively if we see the 3-0, but right now, Trobs on the brink of death for that first stock, so Sam really going to have to bust some moves if they want any hope of winning this.
A good answer there to up B, catch him shielding in place. Up B is a deceptively powerful move. It doesn't look like it does a lot of knockback, but it has a ton of knockback in this game.
Yeah, it really does have a lot of knockback, more than I think we saw in any other game since Melee that it's seen Captain Falcon in it, and it's just something, a very underrated one in my opinion, a good combo opener if they're at the right percentage, of course. And Sam just constantly looking for these down smashes, just not able to, or excuse me, down airs, but just not able to find them. Trying to get the elimination here early on. It's Robs. Oh, and that's gonna do it. Now we're down to 1-1 stock. Sam really coming back to life in this final moment here.
Just about to point this out. Sam is, when he's able to get this Ness off stage, he's throwing out those up tilts right next to ledge because the tip of the top of that up tilt is actually a spike hitbox, and there you see he lands it and evens up the game.
Evens up the game, yeah, very early on. It was able to spike and take out Trops, but now Trops still 72% less than Sam, but Sam also needs a lot more percent to be launched. So right now we see this Captain Falcon down, but absolutely not out. Oh, but the yo-yo is going to send him, not quite find the elimination, but stack up a lot more damage. And now Sam at that high launch percentage is really going to struggle to find any value on a projectile aggressive hero like Ness.
Second chance at life here for Sam. He has to find one opening, but Trops is doing such a good job of holding center stage.
Yeah, and that's where Ness really thrives the most, is on that center stage. The back air doesn't completely connect, but no, off the edge of the map takes Sam home. That's going to make it 1-1, and that really did come down to the wire as Sam with the final stock was able to almost take all 3 stocks back on Trops.
So we mentioned early that, I mentioned that, this stage was very volatile both ways. It kind of, pushes the advantage and disadvantage for both of these champions. This is why, when you're off stage, it's so easy to catch your opponent in a situation like that. And Ness, that's one of his attributes, is that yo-yo up smash and down smash can actually stop a character from grabbing the ledge like Captain Falcon. And so you see right there, a trade for trade on edge guards, stopping that character from grabbing the ledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And the yo-yo, we actually have seen that happen twice today. Before you joined me for this co-cast, we saw another Ness do that exact same thing. That yo-yo just barely tips over the edge and prevents that edge grab. And with heroes against Captain Falcon or Terry, perhaps, just ones that don't exactly thrive below the stage, it really does eliminate an entire stock if executed correctly. So Trobs, a risky play at the end there, but one that very clearly paid off. It is now 1-1.
Yeah, and I think if you're Sam going into stage selection, I think it's a pretty even matchup both ways, so I don't expect a character switch. But in terms of stage selection, I think you go to a triplat. I think that the triplat will extend your combos a lot more on a floaty character like Ness, and Ness is also a fairly lightweight character too. You might be able to kill Ness earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. The triplat, I think, gives Captain Falcon a lot of advantage and opportunity to attack the Ness from different angles, whereas as a no-platform map like Final Destination makes it very difficult for Falcon to switch up their approaches, as they can really only move forward. Perhaps they can jump or maybe side B, but there's only one opportunity for them to attack their opponent, where Captain Falcon really thrives off of that unpredictability.
Yeah, one of the pivotal points of that last match was watch how both of these characters interact off stage, because they don't really have good edge guard options on each other until they get close to the ledge. Falcon can dip kind of low, but outside of throwing out an up air or a back air, he doesn't really have a whole lot of other options. And Ness, it's similar, because their recovery is so linear, they can't afford to go out as far unless they're assured to kill.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, we saw a lot go for that down air, just that down, the Captain Falcon boots, and just never able to find that opportunity. But that really could have been an opportunity, a good one, had Sam landed it, because a few times they used it kind of as an edge guard opportunity, just couldn't find the hitboxes proper, as the hitboxes always get a bit wonky when someone grabs the side of the stage. But I think if Sam can kind of perfect that down air, I think that could really be the difference maker. And like you said already, I don't think we're going to see a swap. And yes, as I say it, it is confirmed. They're going to go for the same heroes. Ness v Captain Falcon. Now it's going to come down to the map choice.
Yeah, and I think the first stock is going to be very pivotal here. We've seen Trobs, take the lead in both first games, but in game one, we saw Sam turn it around off that SD. Trobs, if he takes the lead again, he just has to play careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And playing as Nest, I have used this term a lot tonight, but Nest, depending on your playstyle, can be very glass cannon-y. He's very easy to launch. He doesn't weigh very much. And now, he's not a glass cannon like Game & Watch, but if you get Nest to a certain percentage, you're pretty much asking to die. So you really got to play careful with these low percents and try to preserve them for as long as possible. And that's what Trobs is trying to do, already finding 50% onto Samson, but taking 50% of his own.
Yeah, and this isn't, we were talking about the stage selection, this is an interesting one with that solo platform right in the middle means that Falcon can only extend his combos from center stage, which Ness usually does a good job of controlling.
Yeah, absolutely. Ness center stage is kind of where he does his best, and right now, I mean, Trobs is trying to prove that to us, trying to keep Samsam off stage, but instead chooses to recover to the other side of the map. Now, this is the Samsam we needed to see, keeping Ness off the stage, keeping him away from the middle, because this back throw is almost lethal once again. That's the only way we've seen Trobs take out Samsam, but Samsam is not adapting, I think, as quickly as they need to be in order to win this matchup.
Yeah, and you saw Trobs try to cover as many options as he could with that neutral B. It allows you to fade out, and if it's a large enough hitbox, it can cover the ledge. He just misplaced it a little bit, drifted it too far back into stage. But the Falcon kick, another move with deceptively large knockback.
Yeah, not the kill confirm you see often from a Falcon player, but one that is a good choice a good amount of the time. It's just not a common one. And as I mentioned, adaptation, Samsam went ahead and proved me wrong right away. He waited out the yo-yo on that recovery and didn't up B right into it, which is what got him that elimination and back onto the map. Now I'm worried Samsam might rely a little bit too much on that Falcon kick. The playstyle we've seen is if a move works for him, he sticks to it a little bit more, but the back air from Trobs gonna take Samsam down a stock, so we're gonna be back 2-2 stocks.
And this is the first time we've really seen Samsam with the early lead in the game, and you could see once he was at that high percent, he wasn't playing, careful or cautious. He was going in. He wanted to rack up as much extra percent as he could.
Absolutely. Trobs now at 102%. Samsam yet to take a lick of damage on the second stock, but I'm sure that damage is coming in any moment now. Right now, Samsam looking to take this map map 3 away from Trobs, but it's going to be close. Because right now, although there's a stock of difference almost, we've seen Trobs come back from the brink of death a few times already, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it again.
Great job by Samsam covering just about every option he could. Down tilt to try and catch the air dodge, and then reading the jump from ledge with that up smash. His second kill with that move.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not. I keep saying Samsam uses such unusual kill confirmations, but if it works, there's no reason to change that. So Samsam now in the lead by near an entire stock, but that by no means the series is over.
Yeah, and now they're back into neutral, but with a full stock lead, Falcon can afford to, play his own play style and be a little aggressive.
Absolutely, but right now Trobs going to go back to that projectile game, just trying to keep Samsam off the map, and oh, the bat takes him home. 50% on Trobs right now, but Samsam getting a little bit too close, a little too close for comfort here as Trobs is slowly but surely grinding through these stocks.
Samsam knows that if he can get this Ness off stage, eventually he's going to find whatever option Ness is going to use to recover. It's so dangerous for Trobs right now.
Absolutely, and Trobs off the map once again. Does Samsam go for the down air? No, instead goes for the grab, the back throw off the stage once again. This is like you said, this is what he needs to be doing. Oh, the down smash, but he makes it back out of the stage. The down air almost takes Trobs out of the fight. And Samsam doing exactly what needs to be done, keeping this Ness off the stage for as long as possible.
And this jab might actually, okay, he didn't get the strongest hitbox on it. At some point, he's going to land a kill move at that percent, and the up B catches his landing. Great stuff from Samsam to take game 3.
Yeah, Samsam just barely coming out. It goes down to the final stock once again between these fighters. But that up smash, and we keep talking about it, and that up B is an aggressive move, and it's one people don't use very often as a kill confirm. But Samsam just did it twice to show how deceptively strong that move can really be.
And one of the things that's great about that up B is it's a command grab. It goes through shield, so you can't just sit there. You have to respect that Falcon has a way through your shield other than just a typical grab. As you saw, Falcon really was able to just catch Ness time and time again off stage and keep him in disadvantage. And eventually, he was going to be able to read a recovery. And you saw right there the up B to close it out.
Yeah, that was honestly very impressive. The up B came out twice in a single round, which is not something you see, or maybe not a single round, but in a single series. And it's not something you'd see often. But before we jump into this next round, we're going to take a quick break before we get our players in here. And we'll have a lot more to talk about when we come back, so don't go far. Soy Source coming at you quick as we see Probs take on Nani, Joker versus Snake. Before we jump in, it's going to be just a few seconds. Soy, who do you think's really going to come out on top of this matchup?
Don't know, because both of these characters are very good in their own right. So I'm very curious to see what type of playstyle we see from two top tiers in this game.
Absolutely unique playstyles indeed. Snake, that projectile yet close combat combination, and Joker with that R set. Oh, wow. Sorry, Probs just hit. That was a very nasty combo. That attack into that mine coming back down, taking Joker to 107% already right now. This is Probs' battlefield, and Joker can just hope to run.
Yeah, and one of the things you saw is that Snake is a lot of setup. You know, a lot of those projectiles, you know, can combo into Snake's moves, but it's a lot of planning, and that's where I think Fairfield might be able to catch a little bit of advantage. Joker, another rushdown type of character, in your face, has a down B that can either absorb or reflect, depending on if Arsene is out or not. But that forward tilt on Snake is so powerful. Snake hits like a truck sometimes.
He really does. They call him Snake, but they should call him a moose because he hits as hard as one, and it is intense. But like you said, I use this term a lot as a caster. Snake is a very high-risk, high-reward player, and you have to have that setup early on, but then you have to hit the combos that utilize that setup effectively. So it's very difficult, and it requires a lot of adaptation. But so far, Probs has showed us that they are very comfortable adapting to a new playstyle.
Yeah, and one of the things that's going to be huge in this matchup is that Arsene meter. Snake doesn't have a whole lot of tools to really whittle away at Arsene, because Arsene goes away with the more hits that you put on, and Snake doesn't have a whole lot of multi-hits. He has a lot of projectiles that can easily be reflected. So this is the scariest time of the match for Probs, and right there you see why.
Yeah, most definitely Probs at a mild disadvantage when that Arsene comes out, because, yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Doesn't have a lot of multi-hits, and that's what really deals the damage to Arsene. Right now, Probs just trying to find some cheeky grenades, but unable to do so, dealing more damage to himself than Fairfield's Nani here. Joker's second stock already 120%. Now we see Probs just looking for the kill confirm, but no, another Arsene going to come out. And again, this is the scariest time to be that Snake player.
Yeah, and one of the things that's going to be big, we talked about catching landings earlier. You see the platforms move away. This is a scary time for Snake. He's got a lot of landing options, you know, a couple B reverses, things of that nature. Joker, when he controls center stage, scariest character in the game sometimes.
Yeah, without a doubt, we've seen Joker played at that highest level, and we've seen how effective he can be mid-stage and off-stage. As long as Arsene is alive, Joker is effective, and that is the scariest thing about him. Probs still just barely in the lead. Fairfield's Nani just barely making almost 200%, but right now Probs really struggling to find that kill confirm.
Yeah, and I like what Probs has done to kind of work his way back into this game. You know, is he's set up these projectiles, and then even when Fairfield gets Arsene, he's not afraid of it. You know, he goes in a little bit more just to try and, you know, mount any damage that he can.
Absolutely. Probs finds Fairfield a great opportunity here. Nani gets stuck off the map, but another Arsene comes out, keeps this Joker alive just a little bit longer. Probs has the damage to find this elimination very early, but the question is, can they? Oh, Nani almost falls off the map there, and the grenade comes out once again. They're trying to find the damage, but Probs now in that kill confirm scenario of their own.
Yeah, Probs has done a really good job of avoiding Arsene, and now that Joker does not have Arsene, that kill power is down, and up there with Arsene there would have killed, but he has to wait a full meter now to get that kind of kill power back.
Absolutely, and a perfect shield from Nani just barely keeps him alive as that attack most likely would have killed, but if Probs can find just a decent up or down throw, and nope, instead it's going to find the elimination onto Probs. So right now, 1-to-1 stock, 90% advantage for Probs, but this fight is far from over.
Any character can do dash attack to up smash, but right there, this is one of the things about Joker that can be a little suspect at times, that Snake can take advantage of. When Joker does not have Arsene, that grappling hook is very susceptible. And right there, you saw the miss input come out, and then that grapple, the distance is a little ambiguous sometimes, and right there, could not catch the ledge.
Yeah, ambiguous, a great description for what happened there. You never really know the exact length of that grapple, and it was not a great placement, so to speak. But like you said, there's a miss input beforehand. Nani was just trying to clean up after that, but instead gave that victory to Probs with, I would call that an SD.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about this matchup that you saw Probs start to take advantage of, the fact that Joker's recovery without Arsene is actually fairly susceptible, especially if you can catch him before he snaps back to ledge. That grapple, even if it grabs, if you get hit out of the grapple to ledge, you can't grab the ledge anymore with up B. You have to find another way back. And 90% of the time, that just means you've gotten gimped and your stock's gone.
Right, and speaking of being gimped, there's very few heroes better at that than Snake when he has the advantage off the side of the ledge. Any hero being stuck off map is going to be difficult to move into somebody that just has so many projectiles. It's very hard to push into a Snake that has the advantage over you like that.
Yeah, and Joker doesn't really have an answer for Nikita when he's off stage, because Nikita, Snake can just sit on stage, control that missile, and plant it at whatever angle Joker's going to go. So it's going to be very volatile, and it's very important for Nani to, not put himself in that disadvantageous position.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nani picking as quickly as they have, I do believe we might just see a mirror matchup. They might not change off that Joker, but in reality, if we see that Snake once again, I think they probably should, but no, instead, we are going to see that mirror matchup, or not mirror matchup, we are going to see that repeat matchup once again as we move into our upcoming map.
It's a necessarily bad matchup, but I think it's a matchup that it kind of thrives off of that meter that Joker has. When Arsene's on the field, Joker becomes, 100 times better and looks like, the better character in the matchup. But when Arsene isn't on the field, Hobbs looks like he has the reads and the ability to really take this character out. So I think the key in this match on Pokemon Stadium is how does Nani manage his meter?
Yeah, the meter was the difference maker, and every time Arsene came out is when Probs ended up losing the initial stock. So right now, unless the Arsene is utilized correctly, this could cost Nani a stock, but right now we're seeing it very effective. Arsene adds a lot of damage to even those generic attacks, and Probs misses the stage. I'm not even sure if the drone was destroyed. I think that was just a complete miss, and now Fairfield's Nani is up at a complete stock.
So a couple of things there. Number one, I like the adaptation by Nani to go off stage and challenge Snake. Snake, you can hit Snake out of that cipher, although it's very hard to do so. It is still possible, and it's a good adaptation on Fairfield's part. On the other hand, Probs tried to air dodge to get away from the edge guard, and then could not plant his C4 in time to shoot himself back up towards the stage.
Yeah, it was definitely an unfortunate series of events. We've seen quite a few SDs today, and it's just something that I think could not have worked out worse for Probs there. Nani is now going to be eliminated as well. Back to that 2-2 stock, a mild advantage for Nani, but this is still anybody's game.
Yeah, Prop took that stock with down air, and down air very effective, another deceptively high knockback, but we all know a forward smash from Joker is absolutely going to take the stock at that percent.
Absolutely, a forward smash from Joker, with or without Arsene, does quite a lot of damage, and now Probs kind of on death's door here. 2 stocks left for Nani, and we're going to have to see a lot of damage come out very quickly if Probs has any hope of taking this series here.
This is dangerous. Probs has to find a way to land, and he gets the parry. That was huge.
That was huge indeed. Finally finds a back air hit onto Nani, but Nani makes it back onto the stage. Arsene now gone. That meter, of course, immediately starting that recharge process. Probs kind of being caught off the map, not sure what to do right now. Looks like Nani's got a bit of a stranglehold in this original engagement, but lets the mine hit him, and it finds the elimination. So Probs still on death's doorstep, 90% on final stock, but now Nani's on that final stock as well. Arsene not even half ready, and as I say it, there he is, completely ready.
Nani has done a very good job of landing down Bs and making sure Arsene is on the field more times than not, and that's what's given him this, roughly 80% lead.
Absolutely. We've seen the initial engagement. We talked a lot about how Arsene was the only time Nani really had the opportunity to find kills, and it looks like he noticed that as well, because now Arsene's out maybe double time what we saw that last engagement. 70% on Nani, and right now 130 on Probs, who is just absolutely at death's door, has already rung the doorbell, but that does not mean this engagement's over yet, as Snake can do a lot of damage very quickly, but is now in a very difficult spot to push forward.
And this is the question for Nani. Can he find the kill move? Snake is at kill percent, but he needs to be able to land a strong hit in order to close this game out.
Yeah, he's going to have to find one, and Arsene not ready quite yet. Arsene can be the difference maker, though, but no, it's going to be the up smash and the up air instead. Finds Probs off the side of the map, a single stock left. That's going to put another point on the board.
That was actually a big down air from Joker right at the edge. The reason that was so big was because that down air with Arsene would spike, and it probably would have killed if it had hit, because at the percent that Joker was at, or the percent that Snake was at. But when Joker does not have Arsene on the field, that down air will always send out. And so at that percent, right by ledge, it's actually a very good move with or without Arsene.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great move. And I mean, it's effective in getting those eliminations. We saw that here firsthand. Now that makes me think, again, we're probably not going to see swaps because they're now 1-1. So it's very clearly this hero has worked out for both of them both times. So they've really come down to the wire on that final stock, both engagements. And like I said, I'd be surprised if we saw a swap, in all honesty.
Yeah, and this is a pivotal game too. You know, Manhattan with the slight lead, and I think I really like the adjustment from Nani that game. He had a lot of good reactions to pull out the down B and, you know, stack up that meter and get closer and closer to Arsene. And that was really, I think, the difference maker was when Arsene's on the field, it's so prevalent. You know, it really, you know, Joker gets all that extra knockback, he gets all that extra kill power, but he still has the mobility and the invincibility frames on that up B that the character just, you know, skyrockets in advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. The advantage is very clear after a certain point in the map. And yeah, once again, we're going to see that same matchup, that Snake versus Joker. So this, again, we've seen it can come down to the wire and end up in either of these teams' hands. So we're going to jump right in, and the map choice this time could be the difference maker. Once again, these map types give different advantages to different characters.
House is an interesting choice because it's got a very high ceiling, and both of these characters like to kill off the side. That top platform above both ledges is going to be very interesting to see how both players play around that platform.
Absolutely. I feel this offers a mild disadvantage for probs who can no longer play off the side of the map, as those platforms at the very top could get in the way and could possibly ruin combos throwing things up or shooting the mines or throwing grenades. So now probs is going to have to play a lot more center stage, and that's very clearly already not paying off. They're already at 100% versus Nani, who's just barely at 53, and Arsene already online. Probs almost losing that first stock, but again, the Arsene just barely keeping Nani alive. Right now, things are not looking good for our Snake.
And Probs, as much trouble as he's going to have controlling center stage, the one thing that Kalos does allow Snake to have is he has plenty of space to work with because of those platforms way out off stage. He's allowed to just kind of throw projectiles from out there and kind of get away with it for free if Nani is not there to punish it.
Yeah, that's the truth indeed. And I think something that we haven't seen from Probs, we saw it a lot in the first round and not at all in the second, is utilizing that down air just barely off the ground, doing the short hop and then using that down air to kind of juggle your opponent beneath you. That's how Probs picked up a lot of kill combos in the first round, and I don't think we saw him use that ability once in the second round. So it's just weird to see how aggressively this playstyle is changing. Right now, these guys are neck and neck. Probs just barely able to pick up that first stock elimination at 180% himself.
We talked how useful that down air is. Up tilt is easily one of Snake's best kill moves. It comes out so quickly and does so much knockback, and with both of them at such a high percent right next to each other's shield, you knew Snake was going to have to up tilt eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, up tilt, a very fast move, blink of an eye, blink and you'll miss it kind of move. And again, Probs almost taken off the map, but went for that down air, found a couple percent of damage onto Nani, and Probs just trying to stay alive. But now, yeah, I was going to say just a couple hits from death, and there comes the death. But still mildly up, has to kind of wait out this Arsene, just trying to dump in the damage necessary. But I really do feel like this is a difficult matchup for a Snake player.
Yeah, especially if Nani keeps his advantage going, you know, and really stays in Snake's face. Because the second that Probs gets space, he's allowed to, you know, just do this, sit there, wait, and see what Nani's going to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. Probs is choosing to take the fight off the map and is going to find the elimination for it. A high-risk, high-reward scenario. And Probs needs to find the distance. We just saw a moment ago, Nani started using Joker's gun just to keep a little bit of distance onto Probs, and it was working very effectively. But then he gave up that strategy for no real reason, and that may end up costing him an extra stock.
Now Probs has made the switch that Nani made in Game 2, and he started to go off stage more and threaten this Joker. You know, when he's at disadvantage, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, the disadvantage is going to be huge indeed. And right now, we see Nani at a mild advantage, but underneath a stock. So the stock is going to be the difference maker, as Probs can afford to get a little bit hyper-aggressive here, maybe even a little bit sloppy, and still have time to come back from it, where Nani, kind of on the last scenario, just trying to find any kind of value, but no, Probs with that down air we talked so much of beforehand is going to be able to find that elimination and get that technical 2-1 victory and put his team up just a couple more points.
This was such a smart adaptation from Probs, because we talked about how in game 1, when Joker does not have Arsene, that grapple is super susceptible, and that's exactly what Nani was afraid of. He lost out on Arsene, and then he got pushed into disadvantage into the corner, and Probs goes off stage with that down air, that multi-hit that covers so much space and has so much knockback that Joker was kind of left without options and ends up air dodging because he wanted to hold on to his up B, and he couldn't make it back to stage to wall jump to try and get that up B back to ledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot talk about how powerful that down air is, and we saw Snake start to utilize that at the very end of that engagement, which gave him the win. But again, we're going to take a short break, get our next set of players in here, and we'll see you guys in just a couple minutes, so don't click away. We'll be right back. We're going to jump right in. We've got a Kirby versus an Ike. Now, to say this matchup is interesting is the understatement of the century. This is a confusing matchup, is the word I'm going to choose to use here.
And, I mean, both characters go in, both players go in blind, not sure who they're going to go up against. So you have to assume that these are the mains for both of these guys. And this type of matchup, I got to lean towards Ike. A lot of, easy bread and butter combos to pull off and hits like a truck sometimes too. Kirby, Another, you've been talking about glass cannon characters, another combo heavy type of character, but he's going to die super early to this big heavy sword.
Yeah, I was just thinking that same thing. Ike's a heavy guy, he's hard to launch, and he does a crap ton of damage. Where Kirby does a little bit of damage unless hitting combos and is incredibly easy to launch. So I am initially going to give this engagement to the Kirby, who's going to play it with their heart out here, put their heart on the line, but the odds of a Kirby winning a matchup at this level of competitive nature is just very, very low.
Top of a tri-plat like this, I think really thrives off of these platforms. So, because he's going to be able to extend that nair into any up air combo, and already Kirby's at a high percent.
Yeah, with 136, but I've already seen a mild weak point from Ike, and that's that he only has one ledge guard, and he chooses to use his neutral B, and we've seen Kirby play around that quite a few times already, which is honestly going to work out very well in Kirby's favor. So it's something effective, yet something that shouldn't work consistently. Doesn't look like the Ike's going to need it anyway, finds that early elimination onto Kirby, and makes this matchup look just a little bit better for Fairfield.
Yeah, one of the things about both of these characters is that their recovery is fairly susceptible. If Ike can get the timing down on that neutral B, he can stop Kirby from grabbing the ledge. And the same way for Kirby, Ike only has really two ways to recover, up B and side B. And so Kirby doesn't have exactly a move to trap Ike's up B, but he does have a strong back air to take it from center stage.
Absolutely. Ike did lose that initial stock, so now it's going to be the 2v2. Shocking if Kirby took a stock on an Ike at all, but this Ike, in all honesty, has been playing just a little bit sloppy. So when we gave him that advantage at the beginning, now he's not hitting nearly as many strikes as he needs to be to make this heavy hitter worth it.
And one of the things for Kirby, is that he's got to make every hit count, and he's got so many multi-hits that if he can get Ike in disadvantage, it's going to be hard for him to work his way back into center stage.
Absolutely, but it looks like we're going to see a mild connection error. That is not necessarily a good thing, but we're going to have to come back to this fight early on. When we lose this engagement, we see that the Ike actually was in the worst situation. So we talked so highly of that Ike early on, and then he just kind of starts missing those valuable hits, those important hits, and the Kirby really gets to take advantage of that. While Ike can do a lot of damage, Kirby is much, much faster and is finding a lot of value in striking this Ike before the Ike can strike.
And one of things about that is that Kirby's aerial mobility allows him to just kind of weave around. Ike can control center stage, but Kirby is using these triplats to, just kind of hang back, avoid, and wait for an opening. And then once he gets that opening, he's landing all these multi-hits, racking up all that percent, and catching Ike, in a bad spot, able to push him into the corners of the stage. And eventually, he's going to be able to, land a punishing move on Ike's recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ike's recovery, it's an easy one to punish if you play effectively. It goes right up and it comes right down. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. The Ike just kills himself, and it works out well in your favor. But we saw the Kirby adapting, I think, a lot more than we saw our Ike adapting. And that is a big difference maker, all things considered, as adaptation is what this game is all about.
Yeah, one of the telltale signs of a player, especially at this level, is adaptation. And, you said it best. The Kirby are in a disadvantageous state, but they already came back from a 100% deficit.
Yeah, absolutely. And they came back from a game deficit, as I've just heard from our production, that Kirby won. So everything we said has gone out the window and down the drain as Kirby comes back from the battle of a lifetime, an engagement you shouldn't win. But we saw that Kirby adapting incredibly fast, and that is what ended up paying off in the long run. So honestly, kudos to a Kirby player that can take a series on an Ike like that. That's got to be a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, the matchup seems very difficult, but you saw that Kirby right there, I believe. I lost track of the names as to who that was exactly. That was Crimson. Crimson did a really good job of, not only adapting to the matchup, but adapting to the stage too. He knows that Ike didn't have a whole lot of options in terms of edge guard ability, and that's what we talked about in previous sets of you have to be able to close out stocks. Stocks are so important, at the end of the day. Not being able to take one is massive, and so I'm kind of curious to see if Kirby was able to hold on to his second stock or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That's honestly the best way to put that is stocks are important where it comes down to if you don't take them, you don't win the engagement. A great example of that can be Pac-Man, who can do a lot of damage but has very little kill potential. And another example, Kirby can rack a lot of damage but has very little kill moves. So you really have to know how to find these hits, where to find these hits, and where to really get that maximum value. And I think that we did see that a little bit from our Kirby player, who, as I mentioned, was able to come out on top of that engagement. So yeah, kudos again to that Kirby player. So we're waiting now for them to pick their heroes. I guess the question for you, Soy, is do you think we're going to see our Ike swap? Do you think that was a comfort pick, or do you think that's an only pick?
Certain. I mean, as much as I think that in terms of the matchup, I think it should still be Ike favored. But one of the things that I think Kirby, did. In fact, Kirby might be thinking about a character swap too if he really doesn't want to play that matchup again. Stage selection, I think, is going to be very interesting. If a triplat didn't help Ike, maybe he wants to take away those platforms in general.
Yeah, I agree. And we are going to see that same matchup, that Ike versus that Kirby. And it looks like it's going to be a map that maybe might benefit the Ike, but I think is going to benefit the Kirby. It's just going to be Battlefield once again. And while the Ike, if playing the aggressive Ike, usually has the opportunity here, but we're seeing a very defensive Ike who is afraid of this Kirby. And that really is what's going to give this Kirby the advantage.
And one of the things you'll notice about Crimson right off the bat, he's not throwing out any super committal options. Anything he goes for, he knows it's fairly safe and it's easy to combo off of. He's not throwing out any wild forward smashes trying to catch Ike out of position. He's just playing it very cautious, very safe, and he knows when to go in.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, it's going to be very close once again to the Kirby. I think a difference that I've noticed that we haven't talked about yet is the Kirby's hitting shields when it matters. We have yet to see Ike really hit an important shield, but this Kirby is shielding a lot of the damage that's coming out of this Ike. And that, as I said already, is a big difference maker.
It's so easy sometimes with sword characters to try and, just swing for the fences, basically. Just throw out every hitbox you can and see if something, sticks to the wall. But that's exactly what brawlers like Kirby want you to do. They want you to come at them so that they can just shield it simply and punish you for it.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to find those eliminations and those punishments early on. And a Kirby player could arguably utilize that the best, already going to take the first stock on this Ike once again. This isn't a matchup you expect to see often, but it's a matchup where the Kirby is doing a very impressive job taking on such an aggressive heavy hitter.
To give so much credit to Crimson's spacing right there. He knew that the side B was going to, send Ike right to center stage, and Kirby's F smash has that, disjointed hitbox where he launches himself forward into it and was able to clean up that stock.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see the Kirby right now just trying to find another elimination, still an entire stock ahead, and again, hitting those crucial shields when it matters most. And the shields, like I cannot say enough, are making a massive difference. Right now, Kirby 133% versus Ike a stock lower, almost 130. Now 2 stocks lower as this Kirby is just surviving way longer than he should be. There's the kill confirmation we've been looking for.
Yeah, and I think it's a case of, for Thunder, it's a case of he's just swinging for the fences, hoping for something sticks, and he's, swinging a little bit too hard because Kirby's right there with the shield, able to land a couple grabs, and Kirby grab combos are easy, 30% if you just land one down throw to forward air. It was, at least 20.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an impressive, effective play coming out of the Kirby, and now they're an entire stock still with Fairfield being at 30% as well. So we see that there's a lot of damage coming out of this Kirby, but again, is going to lose that final stock, and now this is very close. The Ike might finally be able to come out on top. This is the first time in the series I think the Kirby has really been in an equal playing field with this Ike.
A 30% lead is really not much at all. One combo can turn that around instantly. It's going to be huge here to see how the Ike adapts. We've seen Crimson adapt throughout the match, but can Thunder adapt to Crimson's, mobility?
Yeah, and you have to adapt to the mobility as such a slow hero like Ike. Maybe the side Bs come out a little bit more often. The neutral Bs weren't working earlier, so maybe spice that up a little bit. Maybe more aerials. We just haven't seen this Ike do anything new. And I think that's what's really bugging me here, is this engagement is so winnable, but this Ike is sticking to his guns and playing the same play style over and over, where the Kirby is adapting almost after every engagement with this Ike to help them win that next fight.
And a lot of great stuff from Crimson knows that Ike at some point has to get a little aggressive and go for something like an aerial out of a grab like that. And down B comes out actually fairly quickly and does a surprising amount of knockback too. And you see he catches him up high on Battlefield, and that's going to be a kill.
Yeah, you catch somebody that high up, that high percent with such an aggressive move like that down B. And that down B, I mean, it packs a punch. Arguably Kirby's heaviest damage dealing move just that quickly. So it was one that helped that Kirby come out on top. And I am just still amazed to see a Kirby go up 2-0 over an Ike.
Yeah, I don't know really what else there is to say about it. It was great stuff from Crimson to, just you saw it for the first half of that match, how he was commanding on the stage. He really, Ike kept coming to him, and he just was able to land, punish after punish after punish, and eventually control center stage. Finally, when Ike was able to battle back, Ike just hit so hard on a light character. That was a huge, last stock for Thunder to take to still keep this within range. But these next two matches are going to be really tough for Fairfield.
Yeah, absolutely. These next two matches are going to be tough indeed. But I believe even though we have seen the technical win for our Kirby player tonight, they still play all three games. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think we're going to go for the point differential here. So I do believe they're going to run it back one more time. And I honestly don't see it going any different than what we've already seen.
Yeah. Actually, didn't Crimson win both matches? Am I wrong here? All right, Crimson won both matches, so the set should be done.
Oh, so now we go to a break.
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, all right. So we'll just kind of do a break real quick. We'll bring us back when we have our new players in the match. That's a slip up. That's my bad. But we'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. So, oh, just kidding. They're here. We're not going anywhere. It's just debate after debate here tonight, guys. So we're actually going to see, a Samus versus Dark Samus matchup. I didn't expect to see either of these heroes come out tonight, let alone against one another. So this is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and I really don't think there's a whole lot of difference between these two. I mean, they have the same moveset, but I also think they have roughly the same weight class as well. I think Samus actually might be the heavier of the two, and I think the charge shot does a little more damage, if I remember correctly. But other than that, these are basically the same character, so it's going to be, a real test of skill. Who is the better Samus?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're correct on that Samus is ever so slightly heavier than her Dark Samus counterpart. But, I mean, that's just... I'm so fascinated to see somebody playing either of these heroes in Ultimate. You don't see a Samus come out very often. But right now, it's just going to be that who can charge their B move a little bit faster than their opponent. And we've seen that neutral B come out quite a few times from each of them, respectively.
And the interesting part about this matchup specifically is that you think of Samus and you think of all of her ranged, abilities. That neutral B being so prevalent, and her side B also covering a lot of space. But Samus has a lot of moves that require you to be up in your opponent's face. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they weave around these platforms on Battlefield.
Yeah, absolutely. In Battlefield, this is going to be a great opportunity for both of these Samuses to utilize their projectiles a little bit more, as there are a few more options for their opponent and for them to utilize to engage. So if the projectiles really come in handy as they should, they can kind of narrow down their opponent's opportunities to push forward.
That's also going to be a huge thing. The grab of Samus is so committal. It reaches very far, but if you miss one, it could be so easily punished, and eventually, Fairfield going to take the lead.
Yeah, missing one is just a disaster at the very least. And it looks like, yeah, Fairfield's going to be up just ever so slightly. They've got the percent, or excuse me, they're going to be down ever so slightly. They've got the percent advantage. Or no, I'm sorry, and then a stock. I'm losing my mind, guys. Sorry about that. Now it's going to be pretty even as they lose that initial stock. 60% for our Samus. The Dark Samus just barely trying to stay alive here, trying to find the elimination early on while taking as little damage as possible. But now it's forced a much more defensive play style as they don't want to give up too much percent too early on.
And what Derry has done a very good job of, right off the bat after taking that stock is holding center stage. It's so hard, when a player comes off the platform, they can just easily, basically stand at center stage and say, this is mine now. But, he weaved around, tried to make it difficult for him to get hit, and then he controlled center stage. But another key part of this matchup is pushing your advantage, and if you land a forwarder off stage, that is the same as classic. That forwarder covers so much space and has the last hit has so much knockback to it, that's going to take the stock every time.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a one stock advantage, like you said, for our Dark Samus here, and that's going to be the difference maker, as they really, like you said, identical move sets, and maybe one's a little bit heavier than the other, so now we're going to have to see Samus really put in that extra work to find this stock, as that percentage did or they don't have to put in any work, because Dark Samus just SD's off the map. But now we're in that 1-to-1. Dark Samus is going to come back stronger than ever and already 80%. Going to try to find the elimination early on after a mistake as sloppy as that one.
Yeah, I think he wanted to fast fall and then up B back quickly the ledge, and the input just didn't come out in time because, this or that. I think that's what he wanted to do, but regardless, it's another we take those scenario.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few of those today. Quite a few we take those scenarios. But yeah, that's exactly what that looked like, as a fastball into the up B. But for whatever reason, the up B input, maybe it came through a little too quickly. Maybe it just didn't come through at all. But the Dark Samus still going to come out on top. So the SD, wipe that off your shoulders. GG go next, as the SD really didn't change the outcome of that initial engagement there. So that's going to be a pretty effective win for our Dark Samus player. It's going to give Fairfield just a few more points on the board.
Yeah, King of Spills, clutching it out there. That back air, so strong, especially off its initial hit. If you, the closer you are to Samus, the stronger the hitbox is, I believe, on that move. And so right there, great spacing by him to make sure he gets the strong hit instead of, a weak hit. And I mean, it's a pretty, I was about to say it's a pretty even matchup, but I just realized, yeah, it's the same character basically. So
yeah, it's the same character, one's just a bit angrier.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. In a Ditto, I think in terms of you have to adapt to your opponent's playstyle, but in terms of where you want to go stage wise, this is, I feel like, very much so a comfort pick next.
Yeah, most definitely, as it's whatever map gives you an advantage also gives your Ditto counterpart an advantage. So it's really, you can't pick a map that just favors you unless it's a map that you personally know very well, not because you play that hero, but just because it's a map that you're comfortable with. And that could be the difference maker. And I'd be surprised if we saw that Ditto again. That seemed kind of like a crapshoot almost, to really see if you could, I don't know. It just seemed weird. I really did not expect to see any Samus gameplay tonight. So to see that happen has kind of really thrown me off my rhythm.
Samus has a lot of tools that make this character really fun, but also, when you're put in disadvantage, Samus doesn't have a whole lot of ways out. She can maneuver here and there in the air, but I guess it's a character switch of sorts. It's actually a Samus Ditto time instead of Dark Samus versus regular Samus.
Yeah, we've got our full-blown Samus Ditto at this point. Dark Samus down the drain here, and I don't know. It's weird. We're going to see Samus be Samus, so now it really is that Ditto, that mirror matchup. So it's going to be quite fascinating to see how these teammates move forward and just try to find more damage against one another as they're playing with an identical moveset.
Well, one of the things that I think is interesting, it's going to be really key, is once a player gets in, how much damage do they actually do? Because you saw right there, I believe it was King of Spills, used Samus's up B, which is actually a kill move. You can get the last hit of that Samus up B, and you can catch them, on the upper parts of the stage. That move has a fair amount of knockback to it and can extend off of an up air. So I'm curious to see if either of them will go for it again.
Yeah, it really is a very effective move, similar to Captain Falcon's up B. It's a move that has a little bit more aggression behind it than a lot of people suspect. And right now, we're seeing Fairfield trying to find that early elimination. They're only at 70% themselves. They missed that neutral B charge, and they missed the forward air, and they're just desperately trying to find this damage. But it's going to be the charge. It's going to be just the charge attack that finds the elimination onto them.
Attack, another move with surprising amounts of knockback. It doesn't feel like it should do a lot of damage because it comes out so quickly, but it actually does plenty of knockback. And right there, Ching, I believe that was Derry, out of position, trying to catch a landing.
Yeah, Fairfield in that mild advantage right now. They still have that extra stock, but this is where they have to start playing defensively because every percent counts. They take enough damage, it throws them right off the map. If they can get even one more stock taken against them or on them, it's going to matter much more. Is that they keep this 3 stock over a 1 stock, that's much more important than keeping a 2 stock over a 1 stock.
Well, we talked about the upbeat earlier. The other thing, the reason it feels so aggressive is because it's super committal. If the upbeat doesn't land, it's so easy to punish because they're just in fast fall, or they're just in that fall animation until they hit the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. That animation is just not really a great one to be stuck in. That's a lot of opportunity for your opponent to deal some damage. We're not at the 2 stock versus 2 stock. Fairfield starting to slip just a bit. They're going to hit that charge attack again, and they're just trying to find damage early on. But we see this enemy Samus maybe adapting a little bit more than we anticipated, trying to keep her space, trying to find small attacks of damage rather than looking for the big shots.
So the other thing that I think is interesting is Samus has a lot of aerial mobility, kind of like Kirby, in how Kirby can fade back and forth and throw out hitboxes here or there. But I feel like the advantage in this kind of Ditto actually goes to whoever plays a more grounded game style because they're allowed to just shield those aerials and punish for it.
Yeah, honestly, if you get to punish for anything sloppy in terms of shielding, that really does give you a mild advantage. And that advantage could be the difference maker. We see that Fairfield, they've still got that percentage and that stock advantage. We're finding them off stage a lot more, which isn't necessarily the best place to be as a Samus.
King of Spills there in that last sequence was hunting for a back air. You could see he was trying to space it out, trying to catch Derry a little too close to trying to retake center stage. It's such a strong move. It took game 1. He's trying to, take the lead with it here in game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. But instead, got to be eliminated here. And we see that Fairfield, they're just trying to stay alive the best they can. But right now, I don't know, they're slipping a lot worse than we saw in the initial engagement. I don't know if it's the mental boom of seeing someone swap onto the hero that you're playing, but I don't know, they just look a little bit sloppier here on Pokemon Stadium.
The issue is this character, this is going to be big here. Shield break into something, well, he'll take the damage for it anyway.
Shield break into a single jab.
Yeah, I think he was trying to figure out what option he would do from the edge of the stage there, make a mental note of it for later in the set when these percents get much higher. But you were talking about how, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Basically, when a character is in shield, right, that's it. Both of these characters have a lot of agency in the air and punish on a shield, but if you get stuck on the ground, there's not a whole lot you can do to punish someone just sitting in shield with either of these characters. You can throw out a grab, but the grab is really slow and it's more meant for grabbing someone from far away than it is right up close. As you see right there, it's reactable.
Yeah, absolutely. The grab is a risky one to use, and not one you can see very often because it's not really one of the per-grader moves. Pac-Man has that same issue where when you've got that slower grab, it's really difficult to utilize in those close engagements. But both people now over 100% on their last stock of this engagement, so it's really going to come down to who starts hitting these moves first. And right now, we just see Fairfield trying to counter every shot, but no, it's going to be the up smash that finds the elimination.
And I think that's the first up smash of the game for either of these two. I was going to say,
very well may have been.
If both of these characters are just throwing out aerial after aerial because they're so powerful, an up smash is almost every character's answer, especially out of shield. But Sam, I believe it was King of Spills taking that game. Eventually he's able to take center stage, and that up smash can be dangerous because you can actually fall out of it because it's a multi-hit, but catches that last hitbox, and as you said, both at kill percent, a very tense moment. He's happy to clutch that one out.
Yeah, absolutely. The up smash, definitely a panic of an ability, because like you said, I think that was the first when we saw that entire engagement, but they ended up coming out on top for it, so that was quite effective.
Yeah, it's not Samus's most threatening move because it does have a little bit of lag to it, and you kind of have to be standing on top of them or above them to be hit by it. But if it does connect, it does have a lot of knockback to it. And so it's actually a really good move in a matchup like this where there's so much aerial agency.
Yeah, absolutely. When Samus, I mentioned this earlier, Samus doesn't necessarily make her best moves in the air, so finding her caught up like that is effective. And it's something that I mentioned this already. I didn't expect to see happen a lot of the Samus aerials that we saw tonight, but I think as Samus is kind of adapted as a hero, it's as a character rather, playing her gets more and more difficult, especially in a mirror matchup against another Samus. But before we see any more Samuses today, we're going to throw it off to a quick break, and we'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. Once again, don't go far. It's going to be Wolf v Terry. Our next set came in hot, if you could not tell by our rapid return to this. And right now, Wolf and Terry, both really heavy damage dealers, both with pretty crappy recovery. So I think we're going to see a lot of this fight take place mid-stage.
Yeah, and also these are two, scrappers. They want to be in each other's face to rack up all this percent, and both of them have fairly easy combos to pull off too.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolf has some pretty nasty combos, and Terry has, of course, those combos of his own. So it's something that we've seen pretty aggressively beforehand. And right now, Terry just at a very mild disadvantage in that percent, but now has that go online. So that does put him at a possibility of turning this around in the blink of an eye.
Things that I think gives Wolf the advantage is if he can get Terry off stage, he can catch Terry's recovery pretty easily. You saw him try and go for that down smash, but he misspaced it by the ledge. Because Terry doesn't snap to ledge, his feet will go above before he grabs it, and that's going to be a very susceptible thing, and I wonder if Riku is going to be able to capitalize on it later.
Oh, yeah, Fairfield right now just barely able to find themselves on top. Riku already capitalizing just a little bit, finding that early elimination, but already at 100% themselves, actually 99 on the dot. And it looks like the Wolf now can deal a lot of damage, has a little bit of that rage online, but it's just really going to struggle to find a lot of value against a low percentage Terry, like the situation they're in right now.
Yeah, and Terry has a lot of easy combos to pull off, but without Go, he has to land. I was about to say, has to land something raw like that, like in F Smash from center stage. Wolf is absolutely going to die at that percent.
Yeah, and land it he will. That's going to be a very valuable elimination. Like we said, that's something that when you don't have that go online, you struggle as a Terry player, and that's not necessarily an issue, but it's something that, Terry's face, that's when they choose to play the hero, the character, they know that's going to be an issue for them. But now, 2 stocks each, 10% difference on these heroes, and it's going to be very difficult for both of them to engage, but it looks like they're both very bloodthirsty, and they're constantly trying to start the engagement, which is good because it kind of keeps both of them consistently on their toes.
And, I mean, that's kind of the nature of both of these characters, too. They want to be, on your shield, in your face, to rack up, or to start up their combos so that they can rack up that percentage. But Wolf, with a little bit more agency, a lot of his moves come out pretty fast. And while Terry can turn around and answer, fairly quickly, it's not always the easiest, but an up B gonna take the stock the second stock, and I'm honestly surprised by that one.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprising one. I didn't really think the Wolf was going to die there, but somehow Terry with that up B finds the elimination off the top of the map, and now they're in a pretty advantageous position, but Fairfield's Wolf trying to stay at that 0%, gets Terry over 100%, which is almost worse for them, as they are an entire stock behind. So Terry gonna have to bust out some moves, but isn't gonna be able to recover. This is gonna be a very clean 0% to 0% one stock future.
And this is going to be big. Who can make the adjustment to take the advantage here in game 1 of the set?
They're looking to make the adjustments quickly, both at 30%. And right now, it is very neck and neck, much more than you'd think against two heavy damage dealers like this, but they are both finding very high value on one another. Right now, Fairfield's Wolf taking the lead just a little bit, 50%, but we know how fast Terry can do that. So it's really going to come down to the wire here. Who just hits their kill move first?
Yeah, Riku's done a much better job of controlling center stage, whereas Hammer, he's really trying to press, his advantage in neutral when he doesn't have it, honestly, and he's ending up hitting more shields than Wolf.
Yeah, absolutely. The shields from Fairfield's Wolf are proving to be quite impressive so far, but now that Wolf's been caught off, no, instead goes for the side B or the up B and just finds the elimination, right? Not the elimination, the damage right away takes Terry to the far side of the map, setting up for an elimination. 140%. Fairfield's Wolf is in a great position to win, but still very far from being able to do so.
That was a huge interaction on ledge. He mistimed his down smash, and the up B actually clipped and hit Wolf, so he couldn't punish the recovery.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate thing to see, but wow, Terry with the combo is going to be able to take Fairfield Wolf. It's going to go down that 1-1, and it is impressive to say the very least on how he was able to clutch that fight back.
That was huge, too. That whole interaction turned it around because it allowed Terry, a second lease on life, basically. He was able to get back to stage, and when Terry has go, that side B becomes a command grab if you do it right, and you saw right there, there's so much knockback when he has that go sauce, and congrats to Hammer for clutching out game 1.
Hammer just absolutely clutching out. Best way to say it. Hammer comes out on top of what was a very close engagement. And see, this is the engagement I wouldn't be surprised if we possibly saw a swap maybe from that Wolf player, because Wolf is a very high risk, high reward character and one that you can struggle on against other heavy damage dealers. So maybe Wolf seemed like a better idea, or no, because I guess he went in blind. But in the long run, maybe Wolf initially seems like a better idea just due to Terry's poor recovery. Wolf might be able to play off the map a little bit more, but Wolf's recovery, not really that great either, as I mentioned early on. So it was a fascinating one, to say the least.
Yeah, I like matchups like that because there's so much action, It can be a little hard to track sometimes, but you mentioned it as well. We talked about how Wolf can try and trap Terry when he's trying to get back to ledge, but Wolf's recovery options aren't all that great either. That's the one thing about these two characters. In terms of going off stage, they don't have a whole lot of options, but the on-stage battle can be so back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to see that on-stage battle once again, as both these heavy damage dealers probably aren't going to want to stray too far from the center of the map. So we're going to move back in. It's going to be Terry versus Wolf once again. And it's going to be a map I don't think anybody really expected.
Lilat is certainly a counter pick of a stage, and maybe he's hoping for some home field advantage. The triplats are interestingly positioned, and those slants on the stage are really going to be more important for Terry because his one ranged projectile always stays on the ground.
Yeah, and this is just, the home field advantage thing is really all I can think, because this map I really don't think benefits either of them. If anything, I think it puts everybody involved at a disadvantage. We talked about you have to play close as Wolf and Terry. You have to play center stage, and wow, okay, Meteor Strike, Meteor Smash from Terry is going to take Fairfield, and he can go out of that fight straight away. We've got the one stock advantage, the go still online, and right now, Terry is putting in the work.
Yeah, so one of the things here that I think Wolf benefits from is these triplats. You can catch Terry landing with a simple up tilt, which actually another move with deceptively high knockback, and an up smash will also cover ledge. But the issue is, I think, if Terry's off stage, I think that up B that Terry does actually clips through the stage if Wolf's trying to edge guard. but it doesn't matter. So long as you control center stage, you're doing just fine in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nico right now on the Wolf struggling to find any real value, almost an entire stock behind. They're both at 2 stocks, but right now we see Hammer at 0% on this Terry, so it's a massive advantage, of course, and the shields from this Terry are much better than the ones we saw last game.
And it's so scary for Wolf to attack Terry's shield, because if he messes up, he's going to get comboed, and Terry has so many easy 30% combos, and that puppy, again from center stage at that high a percent, will kill.
Yeah, and that was that was just a massive elimination to be seen. Find that kill, 40% on your second stock. This is looking like it's going to be a very quick 2-0 in Terry's favor.
Yeah, I do feel like this stage kind of favors Terry at the end of the day, but, you know, we talked about how that Ditto was a comfort pick, and I think this was a comfort pick for Wolf because it's not a bad stage for Wolf. That slant can mess up some edge guards on Wolf, but Terry doesn't have a whole lot of those.
Yeah, most definitely does not have a whole lot of those. And right now, I mean, Nico on the brink of death, going to be 110% final stock, possibly final hit, if this Terry can find even a single combo, even a single just up B with or without the go. But now 2% away from the go, the window to kill this Terry before being eliminated is closing very quickly.
Yeah, and Wolf struggling to find a kill move. There it is, the forward smash at center stage, catching Terry off guard. And now he's got a mountain to climb here on his last set.
Absolutely, a mountain to climb. Indeed, a Herculean task must be completed to keep this series alive. 140% against a tank damage dealer like Terry is going to be difficult to get much of anything done other than death itself. Right now, just a single move, there's the move, is going to eliminate that Wolf. That's going to be a super quick 2-0 in favor of Hammer.
And you saw, you know, he was just able to push his advantage. Wolf gets a little greedy, drops his shield too late, and Hammer able to land the F smash and take it, you know, a quick set, honestly. And that's going to close out the series completely. Manhattan walks away with their first win.
Yeah, absolutely. Manhattan comes out on top 17-5, and that was just a very aggressive win for them, a very impressive one at that. That final elimination from the Terry, absolutely relentless. Hammer really put in the work to be an aggressive Terry, and that, I think, at the end of the day was the difference maker. But as you said, that's the end of that series, but we do have one more coming up super soon, so nobody go too far. I'm still Septilence, that's still Soysaurus, and I mean, we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes. That's still Soy Soros. We're going to jump right into it. We've got Piranha Plant versus Terry, William and Mary versus Quinnipiac, and it's going to be, I mean, I'm a Piranha Plant player myself, so I could not be more excited for this matchup.
Yeah. Piranha Plant as a character, he's got a lot of interesting tools in his kit, but we've seen how powerful Terry's can be, so it's going to be a very interesting matchup between two higher-ranked teams in our conference.
Yeah, these are two teams that really have brought it all to the table, and right now we're going to see which one can really show it off a little bit more. We're going to see Piranha Plant taking a lot of damage early on, but the thing about Piranha Plant, she's a lot heavier than she looks, so it's going to be difficult to find those eliminations early on. Terry, 52% of his own, but now Piranha Plant just going to have to play a little bit more defensively to avoid an early stock.
Yeah, Piranha Plant has, a lot. Piranha Plant's actually heavier than she looks, like you said. And one of the things that I think Barrett's doing really well here for William and Mary is keeping the distance away from Quinnipiac's Terry here. But that dash attack going to close out the stock. One of the things that Terry has to do in this matchup has to approach Piranha Plant. Piranha Plant is going to be another one of those characters where it's bait and punish. You have to have Terry hit your shield, and you have to be able to capitalize on top of it.
Absolutely, and so far we're seeing Barrett struggle just a bit, but a very cheeky neutral B, going to throw the ball up and give them the exact opportunity they needed to push into point. Looks for a back air early on, using that shield a lot like we talked about, but right now it's going to be very close. Mr. Purple really putting in the work. The Poison Cloud Edge Guard, a classic. We've seen it before, we'll see it again, and Barrett really trying to make up for lost ground here, but really struggling to find the elimination onto this Terry.
Yeah, Billy Shilly's doing a really good job of playing very cautious and not leaving himself open to a very damaging hit.
Yeah, and we might see another stock already coming up before Mr. Purple loses even one. The plant player is struggling. I mean, it's difficult to play plant. She requires a lot of technical understanding of the game, and how to come out on top of this engagement is difficult to do, especially against a power hitter like Terry. So I think we're seeing our plant player really struggle to find the opportunities necessary to come out on top of this engagement.
I do really like that attempted edge guard by Barrett, though, to go off with the neutral B, because it just covers so much space and it's so threatening. Plus, you can throw it at at any point in time. And Terry's recovery is so susceptible. But Terry has so many moves that are so damaging, and that down B is absolutely going to take the stock at that percent.
Absolutely. William and Mary and Mr. Purple finally picking up that first elimination. And this is honestly a much closer series than you may think. Terry just much heavier than Piranha Plant. So we're seeing Barrett really struggle to find the damage. But here the damage is really starting to come out. A nice double ball combo. Poison Cloud comes out quick to hide that down B engagement. Very clever strategy, one we don't see often. But now Barrett finally gaining some footing. Maybe possibly able to make this a 1v1 stock-wise.
And look at the amount of shield pressure that Barrett's doing to Terry, Billy Shilly, from across the stage too. It's not very threatening now, but later in the game, when Barrett starts approaching, that shield pressure is going to be super prevalent. Look how tiny it gets.
Yeah, honestly, it's getting the window of opportunity is closing very quickly for Barrett, and it's disappearing just about as fast as their shield at this point. Mr. Purple just putting in so much damage, not getting Barrett the opportunity to think or even really play a Piranha Plant. She needs that space to be utilizable, and right now we do see the plant struggling quite a bit, but finally, that up smash going to find some value, 140%. We're really going to have to see Barrett put in the work here.
Yeah, that up smash is one of Piranha Plant's best moves, especially in terms of kill power. That down B, not quite going to do it. Piranha Plant's got plenty of heft to him, and that neutral B is going to be getting super scary because it's a ledge grab, which means there's no invincibility, only led to a down tilt, though.
Absolutely, 180%, basically one hit from death. You've already rung the doorbell. Death is waiting on the other side. We're going to have to see a very slow burn coming from Barrett, but instead, Mr. Purple almost ends it themselves. The Poison Cloud, 100% to the dot. Barrett all of a sudden can come back in this engagement, but with that poor recovery, almost gives their life to do so. Here comes another Poison Cloud on the bottom here, and Barrett could really turn this series around, but it's a now or never situation, as Terry now has that go on line.
And Billy Shilly knows that this is super dangerous. Able to grab the ledge. The up throw, that's going to do it!
Barrett, in the final moment of 180% stock, pulls it out in that final opportunity and gets the initial point win. That was very impressive plant gameplay. And I'm blown away. I thought Terry had that in the bag from stock one. But at the very end, Barrett, my plant player, just absolutely comes in clutch and makes us plant players proud.
This power behind that side B. Billy Shilly made one mistake. He went off stage once, and he got back, and he had to tank that Poison Cloud to see if he could try and catch the weak recovery. He knows, who was it? Barrett upbeat, missed the ledge and had to land, and he missed the punish on it. And then he went off stage to try and finish the game, and he took so much percent. You saw he went from basically 30 to 100, all because he had to sit in that Poison Cloud and get, I believe, grabbed and pummeled for it. And that's what allowed Barrett to turn the game around. 70% in the span of 3 seconds.
Yeah, in all honesty, in my personal opinion, that Smoke Cloud, that Poison Cloud, is without a doubt Piranha Plant's strongest move. We just saw it at its prime. You hold somebody in there for 3 seconds, 70% came on the clock in less than 5 seconds, and that is something that you will not get out of almost any other move in the game. A full charge Poison Cloud is just a flawless capability of really pouring the damage into your opponent before they can really know what's going on.
And it was so huge, too, because Barrett, all he had to do was catch Billy Shilly in that Poison Cloud, because if you sit in shield in the Poison Cloud, that thing does so much shield damage. It also whittles away at your shield. Barrett has so much shield pressure from such a disjointed, perspective, or from such a, distance that this character has a lot of tools that are very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Plant gets to thrive, that's really when they can do their best. And Barrett starting off much more aggressive than we saw last time, already dumping 50% into Mr. Purple, but having 56% turned around onto them instead. And right now, Barrett, if they can play the way they did at the end of that last fight, can very easily come out on top of this. But against a Terry player, that's really where you're going to struggle to be able to thrive like that.
Yeah, and Billy Shilly knows that he had that game, in hand. If he plays it a little bit more carefully, he should, in theory, be able to clutch it out. That's why he went right for the run back, right back to PS2. And again, it's still pretty even.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 6% apart, make it 9 now, but all of a sudden we see that this is a much closer engagement than we saw last time. 20% difference between these two players. And right now, Barrett is just hugging the ledge, and I think that's kind of where we see this Piranha Plant at their worst, is when they're trying to cheekily play this ledge, but that's really when this Terry gets to take advantage of the fact that they're stuck in one spot. They can't really do much else.
Yeah. When Piranha Plant grabs the ledge, you kind of saw there was a little bit of a mind game because it's such an awkward scenario. Great stuff there by Billy Shilly, waiting out that down B. If he had hit him any sooner, the down B armor would have kicked in and Piranha Plant would have gone nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. The Piranha Plant wouldn't have gone anywhere, and that could have spelled disaster for Terry. But now this time, gonna wait out the Poison Cloud just to show up back in the ball. Spike Ball is a lethal thing, but the up smash once again takes that Terry right out of the fight to go now offline as well. And Barrett again gonna choose to stick to that Poison Cloud on the side, but it's a risky strategy, but one that occasionally does pay off. Barrett making a lot of bold choices, but as I said already, they have paid off rather consistently so far. But they're still 2-2, and this could still be anybody. Wow. All right. Not really sure what happened there, but that was so clean.
He catches because Piranha Plant keeps re-grabbing the ledge. When you grab the ledge for the first time, you have a couple frames of invincibility, so you can't be hit. But if you re-grab the ledge off of doing a move, you lose your invincibility. And so Terry just avoids one move, avoids the spike ball, and then catches Piranha Plant about to re-grab the ledge and down airs him for it, and the down air is a spike. So great stuff from Billy Shilly to capitalize on something that Piranha Plant has repeatedly done.
Absolutely, and Barrett definitely in the worst possible scenario. Back to that 100%, but this time they've got to go through 2 stocks instead of 1. So that's going to be a very difficult thing to do, and they're again going to hug this ledge, but I'm not sure that's the strategy to be doing. They need to be much more aggressive, like we saw at the beginning of this set. And now they're just choosing to play that defense, so they know they are just a couple of hits from death.
A very awkward scenario when Barrett's on ledge because Terry doesn't have a whole lot of edge guard options unless he has go, and for the majority of the time when he catches Piranha Plant off stage, he doesn't have go, but oh my goodness. That side B has so much range on it, and it's so good when you have go sauce. It the knockback, expands infinitely. It's just such a good move, especially when it covers that much space.
Absolutely. That's going to be a 1-1. Both these players having one win under their belt. That is going to take us into our third and final engagement between these two. So I really don't think we're going to see any changes as they've both won one respectively. So that Terry versus Plant is something that is probably going to happen.
It's a pivotal match too. First game, who is going to take the edge in the series? Like we said, in terms of standings, in terms of seeding down the line, this is a big match. Who's going to end up with the higher point differential or the head-to-head tiebreaker against? These are two teams that could end up tied at the end of the season.
Absolutely, and being tied, not necessarily the place you want to be. Nobody really wants to end up being tied at the end of an engagement and at the end of a season at all, because you want to be that best seed. You want to make sure you give it your all, put yourself above these other teams. So, these teams are obviously very close. We've seen that already, and this is just the first engagement between them.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where we go. Honestly, I would absolutely be down for another PS2 run back. The way these two have played a lot of this matchup has been catching the opponent's mistakes, tendencies, and capitalizing off those, which is the name of the game to some point. But some matchups, it's very difficult to get around a character's framework. These two, they're playing their characters very cleanly, and it's solely off of reading their opponent that they're able to catch some of these errors.
Absolutely. And it's again going to be that Piranha Plant versus that Terry. And they are going to have to look for these very important errors here. Like you said, they're going to have to find their opponent slipping up in order to come out on top of these initial engagements. And they're really going to have to hope their opponent slips up sooner rather than later. Barrett already taking an early 11%, but that 11% doesn't really change much otherwise. Both these players start off so aggressive, and then by the end of the series or the end of the engagement, we always see they both change to the more defensive play style. And that's really when Barrett starts to slip. So if Barrett can keep up this constant aggression, I think they can come out on top of it.
And Piranha Plant, I'm not exactly sure why Plants like Battlefield, because I feel like this stage initially favors Terry for some easy, 30-40% combos, but Piranha Plants tend to like this stage a lot because they can catch someone recovering high onto those platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Catching somebody recovering high can be lethal against a plant player if they can hit, especially that up smash, or even a down air that can hit a lot of damage into a combo, and that would be high value. But right now, Barrett just taking the damage right now. Every time Terry gets them off stage, it's just a very flawless elimination.
That was so clean. It's so hard to get that play. It's a simple little, you have to get the weak hit of Terry's nair into down air to land that spike, but he does it, so flawlessly, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a very impressive thing to see. And flawless, yeah, is a word that we've both used now. And that's really what this looks like. Terry now at 130, but going to find the damage onto Barrett, almost eliminating that second stock already. Has to go online and is just trying to keep Barrett off stage. And I keep talking about how Barrett should not be where they keep ending up off stage like that, but that seems to be a comfort position and one that they continuously use. So hopefully it can work out from here like it did on map 1.
Yeah. Plant can thrive at the edge of the stage, but it's so difficult to take center stage back from Terry, and eventually that you have to get back to center stage if you want to control the pace of the matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And Barrett right now really needs to put some control onto this matchup. Just finding from the 30% combo, they're going to have to start dumping in a lot more damage because that's really where Terry starts to get the advantage. So they have to plant so high that even a single up smash like that takes them off the top of the match. This is starting to shape up as if Terry is going to be able to turn this series in their favor. But Barrett, we've seen it once. Maybe they can do it again and come out on top of this.
Yeah, and it's going to start by catching this Terry out of position. Barrett is kind of fading away from center stage, and that's not the easiest way to come back. But that forward smash, it's not a move he's thrown out yet for, I think, this entire set, but that has so much knockback on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw one forward smash earlier, but it was interrupted by a grab. So that was the first successful forward smash I think we've seen from Barrett on this plant. And right now, this is actually much closer. This looks a lot more like Series 1, where Barrett just barely was able to come out on top. But right now, a lot of shields from Terry are making it very hard for Barrett to find that damage that they need. 75% already on the plant, only 50 for the Terry, but you're again getting to that very small window where you need to somehow find that elimination before 100%, because that's really when you put yourself in the kill zone.
Yeah, and this is where Terry, he's got Plant in the corner, but Plant can afford to be here so long as Terry doesn't reach 100%.
Absolutely. Now Plant 12% away from needing to find an elimination, but almost is eliminated instead. 115% just trying to find high value on anything at this point. Terry going to go for the charge move, the forward smash, but unable to find any high value. And again, Barrett waiting just moments too long on that ability to really find the value they need. And this might be the end of this Piranha Plant player as we know it, as right now it's going to be very difficult to get any value off of anything just climbing up back onto the stage.
That was such a huge interaction when Terry got the grab on Piranha Plant, and Piranha Plant had the neutral be out, but he threw it at the last second so it didn't trade.
Yeah, and we're going to see a massive poison once again puts Terry at 130%. And it's when Barrett gets to utilize these poisons that we really see the high damage coming out. We talked about it in between rounds. We're seeing it again here with Barrett. Now very close to winning, but just as close, if not closer to losing. One single move from Terry that connects pretty much sends Barrett to the graveyard.
One strong hit from either player. Terry, he can get grabs, but he doesn't have a kill throw, so it's not going to really lead to much.
Yeah, the kill throws are not going to lead to much at all, but now Barrett has that Terry off the stage once again, is looking for the ball spike and finds it. Barrett, just on the brink of death, once again finds such a crucial elimination and actually wins the series 2-1 over that terrifying Terry.
Barrett risked everything to make that play because he knows Terry's recovery isn't all that great. He had the side B first. If that up B had came out, it may have hit Piranha Plant first and shot him up Piranha Plant was at such a high percent that it could have killed, but instead he fades away to try and avoid that spike ball, and the spike ball closes it out. If there's so much lag, especially when you're in the air for Piranha Plant. It was such a risky move, but it pays off in the end and gives William and Mary the lead after the first set.
Absolutely. And Barrett gave you guys watching at home so many great moments to clip, and you've got plenty of time to clip that, as we are now going to hop to a quick break until we get our next players in here. So we'll see you in just a minute. Versus Sonic, and while the names may be deceiving, we are in fact not looking at the two people who just played before. We still got William and Mary versus Winnipeg. I'm still Septilence, that's still Soysor, and we're going to jump in Soysaurus, and we're going to jump right into Rob v Sonic, which is, again, we've seen so many fascinating matchups today.
Yeah, and S-Rice is going to be representing William and Mary as the Rob player, and he is one of the top performers on this team, consistently getting points for William and Mary. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does against Soulcake. And Sonic, another interesting character, especially online, as a lot of jokes can be made here. But I think Rob actually has a lot of potential in this matchup because Sonic's a fairly light character, and Rob, another character that can hit like a truck and has a lot of maneuverability.
Yeah, absolutely, but we're going to see Sonic come out very early on this engagement, finding an elimination very quickly onto the Rob, putting themselves at a mild advantage, but already being at 80-90% as Sonic isn't exactly an advantage, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that stock come through any moment now.
They almost did. That down throw always grounds you, so good job mashing the controller in order to get out of that grounded state.
Yeah, absolutely. Being stuck in the ground against the Rob is arguably the worst place to be, and Rob is going to find the elimination on that stock. So we're back to the 2-2. Basically just clean slate as Rob is only at 3%, so it's going to be a very quick engagement for our Rob player here as they move in very quickly, and it's proving to be quite worth it as they find a lot of early value onto the Sonic.
Yeah, great job. What S-Rice does really well is when he gets an opening, he finds ways to get these, pack up these really tiny hits, things like down tilts, forward airs. They don't do a lot of damage or a lot of knockback, but he continually gets them. It's essentially death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, it really is, and that was a great way to put that. It's honestly, that's just how the play style comes through, and right now we're seeing Rob play a lot of long distance, finding another stock so quickly. He already has 2 online as well, and has Sonic up 50% with a very impressive combo. I mentioned earlier that both in Brawl and Smash 4, Rob was a bit of a meme pick, a bit of a player, a hero that you'd pick kind of more for the entertainment factor, but in Ultimate, Rob is truly a force to be reckoned with. Right now, I mean, they're here to prove it. Wow, what a quick set. Holy crap.
That was so clean by S-Rice. Here's the thing about Sonic's recovery, right? You can use it to try and snap to ledge, but it's not the cleanest recovery because there's no hitbox on it. It's just you basically using another jump off of a spring. So S-Rice knows that, and he says, okay, my down air basically covers the size of Alaska. So let me just throw that beneath the ledge and see if I can clip him, and he sends him into the stage. I don't believe he could have teched it. I wasn't sure, but regardless, that down air is so prevalent, so powerful, and so good at catching characters with a very vertical recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sonic's recovery, you can't really get much more vertical than that. Sonic, after using the recovery, is pretty much up to the mercy of the map or their opponents. So it's something that doesn't necessarily work great. But as they move into their next hero pick, this is looking, in my opinion, like it's going to be a very quick 2-0.
S-Rice really a commanding lead. One of the things about that matchup is we mentioned how Rob, when he gets that down throw, it always grounds you, so Sonic has to mash out. But one of the things that we didn't mention was that it's so easy for Rob to capitalize off of that down throw. It's basically a confirm. All you have to do is read whatever or however the character DIs once they get out of the mash, right? So if they go left, right, you just throw out the hitbox, and you saw Rob do it twice in that set to clean up stocks.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not the least bit surprised that we're going to see these same 2 characters coming out quick. The Rob versus the Sonic. We're back on Battlefield, and it's going to be a very quick engagement again. But Sonic is just going to, I think, have to be much more aggressive and get the early combos if they have any hope of taking on this Rob.
And that's why I think Soulcake went to Battlefield, because this stage forces him to go into Rob. Rob's a character that thrives with space because they've got so many projectiles and they can maneuver around in the air. If Soulcake can get in on Rob and force these interactions, Sonic works better on shield.
Yeah, absolutely. Sonic most definitely works better on shield, and right now Sonic is at a mild disadvantage, but they're both at 3 stocks. This game has plenty of time to go in either player's favor. But right now both teams playing much more defensively than I think we saw earlier. The Rob taking advantage of Sonic's hesitance and using those projectiles, where Sonic doesn't really have any projectiles other than maybe sending himself as fast as he can toward his opponent. But this Rob continuously looking for that grab, down throw, up smash, and it's a dangerous combo if it can be landed, but so far not able to land it pretty consistently.
Yeah, Soulcake is doing a much better job this set of respecting Rob's abilities, spacing out. He's worrying way more about projectiles, but that's the issue. If you get too cautious, you're going to get that disjointed back air right in your face, and that back air is another move so powerful and so good at catching characters off guard.
Absolutely. I often call that back here the kiss of death because that's really what it seems like. It comes down quick and it catches you in the blink of an eye and you're already gone. And right now, 3 stocks versus 2 so looking like it's going to be 2v2 unless we see Rob kind of come back. He shoots that laser but is unable to find any high value off of it. It's going to be the up air, which does a little bit of damage, but it's necessarily used as a kill potential move. Yeah, sure, it can find a kill, but you don't see that often. Another grab. It's going to be the back throw instead of the down throw, spicing things up a little bit, but once again, there's just that forward aerial, and it just makes all the difference.
That was so clean by S-Rice. Great placement of the gyro. It covers so much, or so many of the options on ledge. Sonic gets hit by it, sets up easily for the back air.
Yeah, the back air just is a massive move, and it does a lot of damage. It's going to be pretty impressive to see him hit it so consistently. One stock finally taken off Rob, but Sonic already on their last legs.
So one of the things that Soulcake, I think, here is struggling with, aside from not making his hits count, is that Sonic's kill moves, again, Sonic's one of those characters that racks up percentage and nearly SDs in the process, but Sonic's kill moves are reads, essentially. There's no setup really into them, and that's where Rob, I felt like, had a lot more agency in the matchup. You can throw out so many of these moves on a light character and catch Sonic out. A JV3 to clean out the set.
Yeah, absolutely. A very effective one at that. And right now, S-Rice, just the performance of a lifetime. Just made that a very quick, very effective set and was very impressive at the end of the day. That was phenomenal, just all things considered. That was pretty much a masterclass on how to play Rob.
S-Rice has been, since William and Marius came into this league, S-Rice has consistently been one of the top performers, and he's showing why. This Rob has so much agency, on any stage, really, because he's got so much aerial mobility. He's got so many tools, and S-Rice makes him look so clean sometimes, especially against characters that can struggle to kill if they don't have easy setups like Sonic.
Right, absolutely. And Sonic just could not find the value against the Rob. He was just too fast, and that was a very quick 2-0 in Rob's favor. But before we pull in our next players, we are just going to hop to a quick break, and we'll see you in just a minute. What's up? We're back. We're jumping in quick. We've got Joker, we've got Ness, and it's gonna be the best of 3 like we've seen all night. And it's gonna be. I mean, interesting. I think Ness has maybe a mild advantage here, but if this Joker knows how to utilize Arsene, I think it's gonna be a difficult match as well.
This is one of those matchups where I think it's very pendulum-esque, where the disadvantage for both characters is really difficult to get out of. The advantage of both characters is really, hard to mess up, I guess. One of the things, anytime a Joker's in play, you have to be careful of that meter. When is Arsene going to come out? Because there's so many moves that Joker can down B to rack up that Arsene bar, and when Arsene's out, Reflector becomes so pertinent against a projectile-heavy character like Ness.
Yeah, absolutely. A projectile-heavy character like Ness, if he can land PK Fire, he can really make Arsene not as effective, but it's difficult to do, and that was weird. They both just stood still for a minute. But we're going to see, they're really close in percentages, but right now Joker's obviously going to be putting out a little bit more damage.
Yeah, it's going to be really important to see who gets the first kill here. It's going to be Luco for William and Mary. That dash attack, it's so addictive, honestly, to throw out because it comes out so quickly. With Arsene, it does so much more knockback. And honestly, it feels safe on shield sometimes when you throw it out, even though it's not.
Yeah, in all honesty, that dash attack is an effective one, and I mean, it's an effective move for all heroes, one that we see pretty often. It's a considerate choice when you're not really sure what to do, and we see 170% on Joker right now, which is not a percentage you see often. Mr. Purple did go for the advantage of trying to get that yo-yo over the edge, but was just a little bit too far away, really looking to find this elimination, but struggling to do so. 193% for Joker right now.
Ooh, there's that air dodge. Gonna be a little unfortunate. He was doing such a good job living through all those moves because it's so easy when you're at that percent to get hit by one stray move and lose your stock, but he was able to rack up a little bit of extra percent and get a second Arsene out of it. Unfortunately not able to capitalize because of that air dodge, but now you're gonna see Luco's gonna get this Arsene very quickly because of the way that meter works, and at 56%, you're not going to have any rage on top of it or anything, but it's going to be so prevalent when you're at center stage.
Absolutely, in center stage, we've talked about that's where Ness really starts to make the difference. Ness comes very aggressively, but no, instead we're going to see Joker find that early elimination. Ness kind of owns that middle ground if you give him the opportunity to do so.
That was such a brutal shield break, and it's so... even game, I guess. Another unfortunate stock loss there if you're a William and Mary fan, but I just want to go back to that shield break for a moment. It's so easy to forget how much shield pressure forward smash does because typically you don't use it on shield and it hits shield and it does nothing, but it can also catch Ness if he doesn't grab the ledge on an improper angle. Great stuff from Luco to close out that game one.
Yeah, absolutely. After that, I'm going to start calling them homie stocks to make myself feel better about all the SDs we've seen today. But after that kind of little bit of sloppy performance, we see Luco does really come in and clean up that Ness, and that's going to be very effective. William and Mary, they're able to turn that loss, that SD around a little bit, and they come out on top once again. I mean, they're already very aggressively in the lead with an 11-2 score, and it looks like that's not going to be changing anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, aside from two SDs, Luco looked super clean. Being able to live to, that high a percent as Joker is not something you really see. And if you're Mr. Purple, you can't really afford to let him do that. I mean, the more that Arsene is not in play, the better off you are. And so one of the adaptations I want to see from Mr. Purple here is we talked about, when Arsene's on the field, it's very scary. He can catch or gimp Joker's recovery without Arsene. He almost did it twice by throwing up that up B downward when Joker was trying to grapple back to ledge. I'd like to see him do more of that and try and catch this Joker without Arsene.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can find the Joker without Arsene, I think that's going to be the difference maker in keeping this Ness alive. Ness is kind of a meta hero, so to speak, and a hero that we've seen quite a lot today. We see a lot quite often. But right now, we're seeing this Ness really getting a run for their money against this Joker.
Yeah, Ness, has a lot of tools, and is fairly easy to use, especially, you know, if you can just throw out these projectiles and kind of handle center stage pretty easily. That's the challenge for Luco, is to weave his way in and out of these projectiles and find his way in. And I actually like that adaptation. If Mr. Purple is going to try and extend his combos with something like up B, just throw the guns at him, and that'll interrupt his ability to control where that lightning goes.
Absolutely. Right now, Mr. Purple finding a lot more value against this Joker, but trying to avoid the Arsene as well as possible. 100% already on the Joker, but 70 on the Ness. The lead isn't as large as you may think. Now the Arsene gone once again, so Ness is going to get a lot more value out of this if they can get close enough to really start putting in some damage.
Yeah, one of the other things that's really interesting is Luco's doing a very good job of keeping Ness out. Ness is really trying to utilize their projectiles to try and get these kills, but just as I say it, he knows that his best kill option is a grab, and eventually he's going to find Luco on his shield, grabs through it, and gets him out of there for the first stock.
Yeah, Ness's back throw, just a lethal ability, something you don't see often, but something that, or actually something you do see often, but it's just not used maybe as much or as aggressively as it should be. Where Mr. Purple is really finding the advantage over Luco, and I mean, Luco's really starting to pay for it. We're seeing adaptation come from the Ness, and adaptation at its finest is how you win this game. We talked about that a lot earlier, and right now, Mr. Purple is really trying to show us how far adaptation can really take.
And it's scary for Ness too, right? To go for something that's your best option, especially when something like Arsene is on the field, to try and go in on that with a projectile character, it's so hard to do. So any grab that Ness lands is going to be massive.
Right, absolutely. And the grabs are going to be huge, and it looks like we're almost seeing another elimination. Mr. Purple, the Ness, does end up losing that first stock, but the Joker already very close to losing that second. So if Mr. Purple can capitalize, and looks he's trying to here, another back throw, very effective one at that. Tries to find the recovery as well, uses the tilt just to do a little bit more damage. But Arsene's out once again, so now he's really got to get this Joker off the map and keep him.
That was so huge by Luco. When they were on the other side of the stage, he just held that down because he knew Ness had really no other option. He could have gone for a grab, but if he releases that down B, it throws out a tiny hitbox, and so he didn't really know what to do. And a second shield break coming through.
Oh man, these shield breaks are just nuts. It looks like Mr. Purple is drastically underestimating the amount of damage that is added when Arsene is live. And now they're once again at that deficit, and this could end a lot faster than I think we expected it to.
Yeah, it's very scary right now for Quinnipiac. If Mr. Purple does not clutch out this game, Quinnipiac's at a major deficit.
But now, once again, the deficit is almost gone as Mr. Purple has another opportunity to get very aggressive here and find what he needs to find in order to continue moving forward. Now he's only 7% higher than the Joker, and now he's suddenly taken the lead by just a few percent, but Arsene comes back, and they're just going to dump into damage. This damage really doesn't start to matter until one of these players gets to about 70 or 80%, so now Mr. Purple really has to start wondering what their course of action should be to stay alive.
That was nearly another shield break. He got the reflector on the side B, and it nearly killed Mr. Purple again. He's got to find a way back to center stage, but he cannot do so. That is going to be Luco with a clean 2-0 over Mr. Purple.
Absolutely, a very clean 2-0 at that, and just the Joker, we know he's a very strong hero. Ness is strong as well, but when you know how to utilize Arsene like that and negate a lot of what Ness can offer, it's much easier to win that engagement. So Luco really just did a phenomenal job, sent Ness all the way back to preschool with that one, and that was, like you said, a very quick 2-0. So just like that, we're going to have to send us to yet another small break, and we'll see you guys for the next set in just a few minutes. more excited. We've got another Piranha Plant player on the roster going up against Zero Suit Samus. This is still William and Mary and Quinnipiac. I'm still Cephalins. That's still Soysaurus. Let's jump right into this.
All right, this is going to be a very interesting matchup because unlike the last plant matchup we saw, ZSS is another combo-heavy character, but way lighter. They will die way earlier than Terry will, and so the other part of this matchup that I also think is interesting is Jafaldo's ZSS has a much more prevalent ranged ability because that stun is super effective.
Yeah, that's super effective, in particular against Plant, who thrives in that close to medium range, and that's exactly as far as that stun goes. As we've seen, it's been used, I believe, 4 or 5 times already, and we're not even a minute into this matchup. So ZSS, I do think, has the mild advantage unless Plant can get close and stay close, which is obviously going to be very difficult to do, much easier said than done. And we see that showing in the percentages now, 82% versus 47%, so it's really showing to be quite aggressive here in favor of the ZSS in this matchup, but they're both still at 3 stocks. This could really go either way.
Yeah, ZSS is going to be all about how much damage she can do when she gets in, and can she land a kill move at the end of her combo, because that's a lot of what her kit is. Once she lands all of those hits, she has a kill move to capitalize off of it, but it's not always the easiest thing to land. Every single hit has to be roughly perfect, but that side B is another move where I never understand the hitbox of that thing, because the knockback is always, very powerful no matter where you get hit by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very powerful indeed. And right now, ZSS is putting in the work to make this difficult for Plant. And like we mentioned earlier, that stun is the make or break. And the grapple as well, the grab could make a difference. But Plant is starting to shield more and more, kind of calculating these moments. But now the question is, do they have the time to turn this around? They find that first stock elimination, and now it's a little more winnable for Plant here.
Smart play there by Riley. Just throw out the neutral B. As so long as it gets out there, it's going to trade, and ZSS is so light that it's going to kill that high off stage.
Yeah, absolutely. The neutral B, one of Plant's strongest moves, one of Plant's most aggressive moves, still has that Poison Cloud on lock as well, which, as we saw earlier, really starts to dump in the damage. So we're going to have to see, this Plant is going to have to bust out something we haven't seen quite yet, as they are really getting dunked out by this ZSS.
That was such a good read by Jafaldo, reading the neutral get up, throwing out that down smash, which has another stun on top of it, and ZSS's best kill move is that up B. It will work every single time, and credit to Jafaldo for taking the lead.
Yeah, absolutely taking the lead indeed, and even dropping a taunt mid-match there just to goof a little bit on the Plant, who knows they can't do much from that far away. And once again, that whip coming out, just doing a lot of damage with an effective whip, and it's something that, like I mentioned already, finds that damage. Right now, ZSS just trying to find this last stock, and Plant once again on that deficit, just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, and something I think that's noticeable in this matchup is look at the movement of ZSS. ZSS can move around Piranha Plant so effectively, so it's going to be up to Riley for Quinnipiac to throw out things like the Spike Ball to catch ZSS in her movement.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best place to catch ZSS, is when she's hardly ready for it and her movement is just a little bit thrown off. 70% now. They're both on last stock, and Plant is really going to struggle to stay alive, as she's a lot easier to launch than ZSS. And ZSS is quite easy to launch as well, but so far we've seen that ZSS has had very many opportunities to take out Plant, where Plant has had very few to take out Zero Suit Samus here.
That would have been the stock. Jafaldo tried to read where Plant would end up out of the mash and nearly clipped him with the last hit of that up B.
Yeah, but the up B, whether it hit or not, it really looks like this is going to be Samus's match to take home. 140%, but now they've got Zero Suit off stage. The spike! The down B almost takes out Zero Suit Samus, but just barely. She comes back and now stuck on the side of the stage. It's all but over. The Plant on the brink of death, just barely is found eliminated after it was almost a very close turnaround.
So the sparks come through there right as Plant hit that down B, and I thought there's no way that kills, right? But ZSS holds on, capitalizes off Riley, making a mistake from ledge, and William and Mary close out the set, or close out the series, I should say.
Yeah, William and Mary, they have the opportunity, and that makes it all. But I mean, it's no longer winnable for Quinnipiac, but they have to play. They have to play this out, and it's. I mean, yeah, they've got to play it out. Now they're just looking for points to close that differential just a little bit, and hopefully they can. But if it's, I mean, that was a close one, but I really think that match belonged to Zero Suit Samus from the first stock elimination.
Yeah, one of the things that we saw, the difference between Plant versus Terry and Plant versus ZSS is ZSS is so much more mobile. A lot of her combos, or her playstyle in neutral is just moving around in the air, on the ground. It's hard to predict kind of where she's going to land, and that's where I think Plant needs to plant himself and be a little bit more defensive. Let ZSS come to you, because again, ZSS has a lot of punishes out of shield, the easy grab combo, things of that nature. But it's when you try and keep pace with a fast character and you're clearly the slower character, you're going to end up in a lot of disadvantageous states like that.
Most definitely. Trying to keep up, like you said, at that pace of a character faster than you can often spell disaster. But now we're going to see the change from the Plant to Mario. Mario, we haven't seen all night, so I'm very excited to see how they think this is going to change for them.
This is fairly similar in terms of how I think this match will go. Mario is another one of those characters that once they get in, they hit strong, but you have to start to rack up those combos first. You have to land all the little hits to make the big hits really count. And that's what I feel like ZSS almost does better, because she's so much more mobile, throws out so many more hitboxes. The only difference is Mario's a little bit heavier. He's going to be able to survive a bit longer than ZSS.
Absolutely. Mario has a little bit more survivability, like you said, and has a lot more combo ability, I think, than Piranha Plant earlier, but Mario also has to be, again, at that close quarters, and it's very difficult to get close enough to Zero Suit Samus to really find your value, but Mario's going to find it quick, finding the first stock elimination. Now, that's different than what we saw last round.
That was so big and so good from Riley to read the flip kick and that forward air, got the right hitbox, got the spike, and just like that, they're right back in it.
Yeah, right back in it. Indeed, they're really looking to close this point differential as much as they can. But right now, it's looking quite good. They're up that stock, 52% back on a ZSS. Looks for the dunk, unable to find it. Gets dunked instead by ZSS with that down air and just trying to find it once again. Caught on the stage, 61% versus 144. Mario really going to start to struggle here, as he can't really do much from this far away.
Riley is so greedy. He's gone for 3 or 4 forward airs now, when really he could just hold stage or look to try and get a read off ledge. But look, every edge guard looks like it's going to be a forward air, and he's going to catch ZSS on landing. Easy stuff there for Mario.
Absolutely easy stuff indeed. Now he's up in almost an entire stock, 70% already for ZSS on their last stock. He's really looking to take this to a match 3, and he's looking like he's going to be quite able to do so.
Well, we talked about how Plant struggles to keep up with the pace of ZSS. Mario does a much better job of that, and he hits just as hard as Plant does sometimes. And I think that's why this match seems so much different than the last match.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mario's forward air, as we've seen already from our greedy Mario player, is a life ender. It's one that knocks your opponent down, usually low enough, if not completely spikes them, knocks them below the stage so they can't recover. And Mario, I mean, this player, as you mentioned, has been quite greedy, looking for it quite a few times. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to make that their kill condition on this last one as well.
I mean, one strong hit, you saw him spam that up smash from center stage. Any smash attack now will probably kill ZSS unless you get the weak hit of something like down smash. So, Gefaldo has to play very careful if he wants to try and clutch this game out.
Absolutely. Has to play careful indeed. You've got 1 stock left, but if you can knock your opponent down to 1 stock, this suddenly becomes a much more winnable victory. Will still be in your grasp. And right now, it's looking like they may be able to get at least 1 more stock onto Mario here before the series comes to an end. But no, I honestly can't tell what's going to happen next. They've both started running around a lot, playing very defensively, but it's really going to be whoever hits a strong attack next, and it's going to be Mario with that forward smash. Takes Samus out of that, makes it 1-1. We're going to go on to a technical 3 here.
Riley with the great adaptation, and honestly, the reads. He read Gefaldo so many times, especially off stage, got that forward air spike, landed a couple more hits, and right at the end, read the get up from ledge, great stuff, great adaptation by Riley to push this to game 3.
Absolutely pushing it to game 3. And like I said, they're really trying to close up that point differential because every point matters. You don't want to be in a scenario like that moving forward. But it was impressive to see those players and how they performed. And honestly, I don't know if we're going to see a Zero Suit Samus swap. That was an incredibly close set. I think the Mario pick obviously worked out much better, but ZSS is probably a staple here.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen Jafaldo play anything but ZSS. And honestly, ZSS, like you said, didn't really look that bad. Only a 1 stock difference, or actually it was a 2 stock there, but it easily could have been a 1 stock difference. One more hit one way or the other could have, kept that set much closer. But I do like the switch to Mario. If you're going to hit that heavy, you might as well pick a character that keeps up with the pace that ZSS puts out, and Mario fits the bill perfectly.
Absolutely, and it looks like we're going to see that same thing we saw just moments ago. ZSS back up again with the Mario, and we're just going to have to see how that works out for them. Hopefully we won't see another match after this. It's going to be whoever comes out on top here ends up taking this matchup home before we move on to our next one.
Yeah, and they're going to Town and City. I'm not quite sure what to make of this one. The triplats are in awkward places for both of these characters, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that as well. ZSS doesn't really get to utilize the aerials as much as she would be able to. In Mario, this forces him to play a lot lower, as these platforms are going to interrupt a lot of his airborne combos. He's going to get the grab early on and just turn it into a back throw, trying to find damage, but 70% already is not a good look for Mario. He's not the heaviest, but he's not the lightest either. He's quite easy to launch, especially with aggressive moves like the ones Samus has to offer.
Jafaldo needs to be really careful here for ZSS, because if he keeps throwing out those flip kicks to try and recover, he's going to get forward air spiked again and again and again.
Absolutely, and honestly, that was another forward smash. Almost took him off the map, but did take him off the map, excuse me. Finds the elimination, but the jet stream came out a little bit too early, wasn't able to pick anything up. Even if they had recovered, it would have come out just a bit too early. 120%, Mario just trying to dump as much damage as he can before he dies, because this is really, this stock no longer matters. You're currently in the lead, and when you lose this stock, you want to make sure you're as far ahead as you can be.
He gets that first stock because he caught a landing, and Jafaldo had no jump. Even if he upbeat, he wouldn't have been able to make it back to ledge. So smart stuff by Riley covering all those landing options, because ZSS just keeps wanting to jump around and jump into this heavy-hitting builder.
Yeah, absolutely. This builder is a heavy hitter indeed, and that forward smash is going to prove it. Just when we thought ZSS was looking great, the Mario swap absolutely coming in clutch and making this what may be a very quick series.
Ooh, that should have been a kill. You've got to make those count. Catches the roll from ledge there. But Jafaldo, he's not adapting as much as we saw through set 1. Honestly, the game plan really hasn't changed. Kind of jump around, throw out a few aerials, try and catch a landing, and then try and land a stun to try and close the stock out. Whereas Riley has really adapted, and you can tell he's reading Jafaldo's movement much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Reading the movement better is what it's all about. And right now, you're on your last stock. You're going to have to start reading movement a lot better than you have been up to this moment. Right now, 80%, you're off the map, and the recovery will not matter. That is going to end in the favor of our Mario here. The swap off the Piranha Plant making all the difference.
I thought he had that forward air spike. He got the weak hitbox, but it took ZSS's jump anyway, and so great adaptation by Riley to clutch that one out. Great stuff from the Mario. If he's going to continue playing like this, I'd like to see more of the Mario.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very impressive Mario. I was excited to see the plant come out, but that Mario absolutely surpassed my expectations. And with that, we are going to jump again to one more quick break, and then I believe we have what would be our last series, our last set of the night. So we will see you guys in just a couple minutes. Don't go too far. back to our final game of the evening, everybody. What for one last time, I'm still Septilence, that's still Soysaurus, and we're going to see a Shulk v. Robin matchup. One that is going to be interesting. We've got Sword Fighter versus kind of pseudo Sword Fighter on that Robin. So, Soy, do you think anybody really has an advantage in this matchup?
It's hard to say. I think Outer Rim on this Robin does a very good job of spacing his projectiles, which typically makes it difficult for swordies, but Shulk has arguably the biggest sword in the game, so I think it's actually pretty even back and forth.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. I think this could go anybody's way, and I think if Robin is able to utilize those non-sword abilities, maybe utilize that neutral B charge, or maybe the up B, just utilizing the recovery and the abilities that aren't the sword, maybe keeping a distance from Shulk, I think that would be the difference maker. We're going to have to see it quick, because right now this is actually a very close series so far.
Yeah, these two players, Outer Rim and Bako, are honestly two of the top performers for each of their respective squads. And an unfortunate play there from Outer Rim. He used a jab earlier, which used up his green spell book. I'm not sure quite what the name is on that one, but it's the same book he has to use for his recovery, so he doesn't have enough charge to use the full recovery, and he cannot grab the ledge because of it. And the lead goes to Quinnipiac.
Yeah, absolutely, the lead. That's an important lead to have. As you're in your final series, you're trying to possibly make the best of what you can, and the lead now is online for them. Now, the Shulk, it has a big advantage. I talked about this last round. When your opponent is down a stock, your stock equivalent no longer matters. You just want to use it to farm as much damage as you can. And even if you find another stock like this, that is going to be phenomenal. Right now, Shulk is just giving us a much better performance than Robin. So.
Can someone clip that down there? Because that was so clean, reading that recovery. He saw Outer Rim was out of options as soon as he landed that smash art forward air, and it was so good for Bako to, just go out there for that, clean up that stock. And Outer Rim with the quick answer, 62%. It's not improbable, but the smash art forward smash does so much damage, and a JV3 and a fast one at that.
Smash Monado in the final moment. Outer Rim, more like out of stocks. That was a phenomenal performance from Shulk. The read with the down smash right into the JV3, that was breathtaking. I don't see Shulk play often, but that was very impressive Shulk play from what I've seen.
Yeah, Shulk is one of those characters that they're very they're a technical character, and it's very hard to one of the things that Shulks do really well is their advantage. And Robin was at 60%. That forward smash killed from center stage. That is how powerful smash art is, to give you an idea. And then each of those arts does something very different, and so it's super hard for someone to really wield all those all together. So if you know a Shulk player, it's a really hard character to master, and Bako has done a really good job of showing us his technical skill.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more that Shulk is a very difficult player. He's a very difficult hero to play, and he's not one that a lot of people can do well. But I'm very impressed to see how this Shulk has performed up to this point, and I think this could be a very quick 2-0.
I mean, at this rate, yeah. One of the things that really was pivotal in that matchup was Outer Rim did not have an answer for being off stage. His recovery is very susceptible, especially if Shulk can really space out, just dip down low, do that quick slash of the forward air, and if Outer Rim is, caught off stage like that again, there's really no answer for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if the Shulk has the opportunity, like you said, to find this Robin off stage, that's pretty much a guaranteed win.
He's got to be very careful. I was going to say, Outer Rim is usually pretty good at managing how much of each spell book he has, but already the smash art coming out, and at 80%, Outer Rim's near death.
Yeah, oh, I thought that was it already. I was about to be dumbfounded, to say the very least. But yeah, Outer Rim, caught off stage once again, going to struggle like crazy to get back up, and as soon as they do, that's going to be the immediate stock elimination. This is going to be a quick one.
Bako's spacing is impeccable right now. If you're looking to learn Smash, watch this set. And the spacing by this Shulk player to know his hitboxes and know exactly where to be and what frame each move comes out so that he can catch outer him while recovering too, it is flawless right now.
Yeah, flawless is a great word to use because right now 55%, you're over a stock and a half deep. We're going to see a lot of good Shulk gameplay, and the understanding of the Monados is the thing that impresses me the most so far. But now Outer Rim finally picking up an elimination, making this a 2-2. And right now, Outer Rim could find the advantage, but the Shulk would really have to start slipping, and I don't think we're going to see that here.
Yeah, it'd be tough, and Outer Rim is really struggling against... Look at how much space Bako has by controlling center stage and just throwing out a couple forward airs. I mean, Outer Rim really doesn't have an answer if he doesn't have a projectile ready.
Yeah, absolutely. The projectiles, you need to have those ready in order to make this happen.
This is so tough when he's backed up against a corner like this. Bako's doing a really good job, too, of spacing out those backers, and the counter's going to come through. It's not going to take the stock, but it nearly put Outer Rim against the wall.
Yeah, that was a ref one. Outer Rim thrown into the outer ring of this map, and it was just very aggressive. I thought the counter had him. But no, one stock left online. Shulk's going to go for the Buster Monado. We're going to be caught out, swap to the Shield Monado. A very impressive thing I've seen so far is how fast this player is able to swap between these. And that is making a really big difference. They're going to use the jump one to get back on stage, and then all of a sudden, I've just seen very impressive coordination of understanding. But this looks like it's going to get pretty close to coming down to one stock to one stock.
Yep, and the jump art kind of running out there, not letting Bako back to the stage. But that's the thing, is if you're a Shulk player, you have to have your Monado arts down. You have to be able to switch instantaneously like that. It's such an important thing to master because the ability to switch between them is so useful. All of a sudden you can go from a super slow character in Shield to being this fast character that can apply so much pressure and get another character off stage, and the F smash gonna clean up the set.
Yeah, that's gonna be maybe the fastest 2-0 we've seen all night. That was almost flawless from that Shulk. He slipped a couple of times, but overall he really was making all the difference with incredible aggression and incredible force. Just playing as that Shulk. That was a great game for us to end our evening on, I think. That really was a flawless performance from that Shulk.
Yeah, Bako's showing us how it's done on the Monado arts. Like, there's no better way to put it because he was just so clean. Look at the spacing of those first two stocks and how commanding he was. He pushed one of the best players on this William & Mary team, one of the most consistent players, into a corner without a second thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that was a great just match to end our evening on. But as I say it, our evening can finally come to an end. 7 hours later for me, this will be the end of my casting today. I am Septilence. That's Soysaurus. You can find us on our Twitters at, our handles immediately below us. Big shout out to our producer tonight. He's hung out with us all night. Colton, you're a hero. Thanks, man. We couldn't do what we do without you. And with that, guys, we're going to call it a night. Thank you so much for watching. So that's going to be Septilence and Soysaurus signing off. We'll see you guys later.